Welcome, welcome everybody. Welcome, WedgeTech. Welcome, welcome. Hope you're doing fine today. And nice that you made it. And as usual, if you have any questions, just ask. Let me quickly set up everything. And we should be good to go. So there we are. Playing my daily PvP match. And then we will get some... I have actually quite a lot of stuff planned for today's stream, so hopefully we can make it through. Either way, as usual, will be a cozy stream. We will just chill, talk about the game. I don't know what else. And just chill together, enjoy our Saturday morning, at least for me. And if you have any questions, comments, of course, just ask as usual. And I think it's actually, I'm quite excited to play Guild Wars 2 right now. It's actually very interesting for me as a veteran that even though I did not really change my goals in the game itself, the patch with the new update and the legendaries, the new map, brought some fresh energy, fresh, I don't know, just feeling that I still like want to play the game again. You know, it's before it was like a little bit like, okay, I stream, I do my content, I create some videos and stuff, but it was not like I had an actual goal. Now I finally have something to do again. I'm really happy with that. Yeah, and maybe you have the same feeling. Welcome, Lumi. Welcome, welcome. You're still playing your daily Fractal Sams? That's a very interesting thing. That is actually perfectly segueing, so to say, in the thing that I just said, that in the last couple of months, I think even the whole year, I did not really engage that much with fractals. The main reason was not that I don't like them anymore, it was just I don't have the time while preparing build guides, while preparing just the streams, making in general content for you, that fractals is something that takes, especially if you do the fractal CM run and the tier 4 fractals, it takes over an hour. And I really enjoy doing that, but you could also see that I just don't find the time with my current real life situation and stuff to stream more than I would really like to stream more. But Fractals is a perfect thing to stream, in my opinion, because it takes longer than just doing, for example, one PvP match. And that's something that I do every day. But streaming for 15 minutes is a bit short. So I will try to get more into Fractals again, but I'm a bit sad that I could not play as many Fractals as I would like in the last few weeks, months even, yeah. So let's see if I can make that work. But like I said, I have so much on my agenda. So today I want to, of course, play this PvP match here. And then I want to get some stuff going on the new map. Not just a little bit, not too much, because we did it in the last few days actually. But I want to also, and that's the cool part here, I want to do a big opening. You probably read it in the stream title already. I want to do a big reward track opening. I saved up on a lot of reward tracks. And I want to open them here on stream live and do some kind of like small gold analysis, how much you get. And that is, so to say, a preparation, as you can imagine, for a video that I want to do about it, with like really like try hard calculating how much you actually got and stuff. Just wanted to share it here on stream. And I want to do some other things. I want to do some build crafting, because I think the new relics are actually really exciting and I want to do some new build crafting around it. So quite a lot of stuff to cover, but hopefully in the next few streams I can also do some Fractal CMs again. I mean, it makes sense to ask. It was something that I streamed like last year, pretty much every stream. And this year I didn't do any stream about it. So it's a very valid question. It's just, you know, if you have so much on your mind, you have to do some things that you did before, maybe not as much anymore. And that's sadly Fractals, even though I have to be honest, if you would give me the choice, would I want to play forever more Fractals or would I play forever more raids? I would probably choose Fractals. Even though on stream I play way more raids than I do Fractals, it's just that Fractals typically have this somewhat... I'm a completionist. I want to play all of the daily Fractals. You know, daily CMs, daily tier 4 Fractals, yeah. I don't want to do like just a part of it. And for raids, you can just say, okay, I want to do like the daily raid bounties, which is done in like 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. The daily Fractal CMs and the challenge, like the tier 4 runs and stuff, that takes at least an hour, maybe more, 1.5 hours, depending on the group. And this is definitely like a bit more time commitment. That's why I just had to cut something, and that was sadly one of the more obvious parts. Yeah, but it's fine. That's fine. We will get back to it. And especially with the next update, like we will get a big Fractal update with like a new Fractal challenge mode, new Fractal in general. I'm really excited about that, of course. We will have to see. We have to see. Okay, so we will just go very try hard here and go like push far, push far. That is a fresh air evoker. So that should be an easy target, to be honest. Deals no damage, that's good. Nice. I actually got the stability that lasts 1 second exactly when they used Gale. That's a bit unfortunate for them. That's good. Yeah, always happy to put out Guild Wars 2 content, of course, and if you enjoy it, even better. Even better. Yeah, and I think build guides is something, you know, I enjoy doing build guides, as you can imagine, because I put out so many of them. And you don't see that as a viewer, but it's not only like talking about the build for 15 minutes, obviously. There is more involved in that. And since I started content creation, it's actually really funny, but my playtime of Guild Wars 2 went down. Yeah, so I play less Guild Wars 2 than I did before, because oftentimes I learn a build, yeah, from Snowcross or something. I have to learn that. Sure, that's in game. But a lot of times you also have to think about, I have to edit the video, I have to do a lot of stuff, and that takes time that I previously was doing Fractal CMs, for example. And it's I'm not saying that's negative, that's just like the shift of what happens, yeah. My build is currently, it's just a complete meta evoker build. Like I think it might even have a build guide about it. Nothing special. Like really, you play with like Carrion Amulet, Demon Queen Relic, and like Air, Arcane and Earth evoker. Just really, really annoying. I don't know if I should push mid, because then I will just get decapped here, probably. I guess we just go in. But yeah, it's the classic evoker. Nothing crazy about it. Nice, we interrupted the stealth, very good. Yeah, that's the build that almost everybody plays. It's just very annoying, a lot of CC, pretty tanky, not very much damage output, but because of all its CC, let's get this rest here. Because of all of its CC chaining and just annoyingness with, can we get the let's see. Oh no, they have stability. I think we get the kill here. Let's see. It was maybe not the best decision to go for the rest here. I should have just gone for the cleave, I guess. But I did not see that they were almost down anyway. It's fine, we get the kill here now. Just have to get the... Ooh, a lot of CC coming in here. I have to go to no pot spot here. Yeah, it's a classic condition dagger evoker. Just very annoying to deal with for most people. Just very tanky and very much CC. I guess I will just push far now. Yeah. I don't know if you noticed yet, but it seems that you get 3 infinite seeds blueprint from the Strive on Ending. Really? That's crazy. I have not seen that. That actually makes it more interesting for me, if that's not a bug. You know, if that's not a bug. Okay, we saw that 101 is actually quite good for me. So we'll just take it again. Ooh. Be a bit careful here. Oh, Burn Guard. That's a bit scary. That's a bit scary, because I don't have that many Condi cleanses. That's one of the things that this build is not struggling with, but is like you have like a couple of Condi cleanses with your healing skill, but that's pretty much the main Condi cleanse here. Let's just go all in on the guard here. I should probably get the kill here with my elite skill. Yep, there we go. Go a bit line of sighting here. CC this guy. Should be good, should be good, should be good. Okay, we got another kill here. Very good, very good. We can go for the decap. You have to craft 1 infinite seed blueprint to get the blueprint box, and after that you get 1 or 2 free infinite siege blueprint, depending if you have crafted 1 or 2 strive on endless. Hope it's understandable what I mean. I think I get what you mean, but that's actually insane. Is that the intended way? That's crazy. I think I'm not like, I was never convinced with the infinite siege. I have to be honest. It was never something that I, as a veteran, think is like, holy shit, that needs to be like in my inventory. But that actually changes it a bit, to be honest. If it's like essentially half as expensive, yeah. We probably just disengage here a bit. Too many people. This is an unranked, yeah. I mentioned it sometimes on stream, but I really dislike the current meta in PvP. Like, I know unranked is way less, so to say, try hard, or you get less rewards and stuff like that. But I really dislike the current meta. Like, if I go in ranked and I'm in platinum ranked, like, there are like 4 amalgams with short bow and decap, like, or CC chaining. It's like, I don't want to face that. You know, I want to have some fun, and this is not fun to me. Even if I win, it's not fun. So I really dislike the current meta, and in unranked, it's like everyone plays some random bullshit. So it's completely fine. Yeah. That is just what I... Oh my god, they use everything there. So I think we can kill them actually here. I think we can. You have to be a bit careful though. The burn guard is really like, that is killing me. You have to be a bit careful. Bit careful, yeah. Disengage a bit and go back in when we have some resustaining. Yeah. Quick question, what do you think of Stellar Radiance cost for Karma? That is a good question. For me as a veteran that plays a lot of Guild Wars 2, I did in the past, it's not a big problem. It really isn't. I have enough Karma to spend on it, so I think if you just ask for my personal take, I don't care. I have way too much Karma and I can just use it there. But for a new player, I can completely understand that this is not something that you actually enjoy. Yeah, because farming Karma is one of the most annoying things to farm because it just takes a while. So I would say the costs are a bit high, and this is somewhat of a new player legendary, I would say, because you can just somewhat, at least I would say. It's not like a raid legendary or something. So I would personally say probably a bit high in the I would say it would have been okay if it's like 1 million. You don't have to go like all the way with like crazy 7 million or multiple millions of Karma. I think that's a bit high. Even like I said, for me personally, I don't care, but I know a lot of people do. So I think it's probably for me a bit overkill. Yeah. Any meta duelist or bruiser build for Mesmer is Mesmer is not really a good duelist. Mesmer in general is like you play either full aggressive like power Mesmer Mirage specifically with Spear, or you play, I would say, like a support. There is no real middle ground for Mesmer right now. Yeah. Okay, this is a kill here. I'm telling you right now. They are just overcommitting like crazy. Yup. You see, I don't have any damage, that's what I said earlier. But I actually do have damage if I land my elite skill. It's essentially like one button. If I land this one, it's pretty much over for them. Yeah, good build. Like, this is a really good build. It's a bit unfair, of course, to use that one here in unranked. But, I mean, what can I do? It's just how it works. You play what you like, and I really enjoy this build. It's really fun. It's not smart to go for a res, I would say, here. There we go. We got him. Yeah, I guess they will complain about Evoker. That is like PvP in a nutshell. You know, if you lose against someone, they will complain. That's it doesn't really matter which build you're playing. If I would play like, I don't know, Power Scourge and they lost against it, they would complain. That's PvP, and I think that's completely fine. You can complain, and that's just in human nature. I don't think ArenaNet will listen though. They don't listen really to like forum feedback in terms of like what people think is a good build or something. I think they know themselves what is a decent build in PvP, and they will listen to us. Yeah, I mean, look at this. The top stats that says all for itself. That's unranked, of course, but like this is a yeah, pretty crazy. Like having essentially all the top stats. Yeah, pretty crazy. Yeah. Okay. What do you look for in each profession when you jump into PvP? I personally always look for having a well-rounded kit. I don't like to be a full class cannon. I don't like to be a full tank. I like to be somewhat useful, and especially in ranked, I think it's always nice to have some kind of like capability to be in a team fight, to be useful, have some CC, have some damage, have some sustain. That's why I like bruiser builds a lot. But I think if you're more in a tryhard situation with like friends and stuff, then I think it makes a lot of sense to say, okay, one player plays a rather aggressive build like Spear Mirage and the other player plays support Paragon or something, and then you have a really good setup. But I think it always depends a bit on what kind of like player you are. I personally always like to have some kind of, how can I say, well-rounded kit, yeah, to say the least. Okay, let's see if we can get a meta going. I guess we might. Ooh, 11 people in queue. Maybe we'll get in. Okay. So, what other questions do we have? Could be a bug. Yeah, I think it could be a bug. I think ArenaNet is a bit like they would typically tell us if they would make something like that with the Infinite Seed stuff. But I sometimes, you know, if the bug is not fixed within 2 weeks, I think it might actually stay. So we will see. It's like 1 week after or something. After the patch, a bit more actually, 1.5. So if it's not fixed until Tuesday, maybe it's actually intended. Who knows? Welcome, Jollyman, welcome. I was not bothered about Strife on ending, but it worked for me, as it had lots of recycled siege, which went up a ton in gold, so I made bank. Yeah, I actually had some of that stuff lying around as well. It's actually very, very interesting that they made stuff like this, yeah. That this, like, it makes sense that it's in there, but for me, as someone that played a lot before, it's actually quite interesting that it was now in there. Yeah, very interesting, very interesting. I crafted 2 endless summer rings, and that depleted my karma. Yeah, I think, but you know, that might be a bit of an like, I wouldn't say try hard, but some of like a player that plays a lot take. But a legendary is some item that you should not get within a week. You know. It doesn't matter which kind of legendary. I think a legendary item should be something that you have some time spent on, yeah? And maybe I'm a bit like, have a different mindset because I play the game a lot, or did in the past, at least. But, you know, for me it makes sense to say a legendary is something that you need to work on like a month or even longer. And I can understand that new players are frustrated if you get like a big karma chunk or something in just that you need to get, yeah? And that's just not something that you can do within a week. But I think personally longevity is given by this at least. Therefore, I don't know. I personally think it's not too bad, but that is maybe just me, you know? Hopefully you understand my viewpoint where I'm coming from, but I can understand if you're not agreeing there, yeah? We'll see where I'm in Q7. Maybe I will not make it. We will see. We will see. Yeah, Amalgam is very not very fun build to play. That's why I don't go in rank. Normally I just go in rank, don't care. But if I don't have any fun playing a certain game mode because of the builds I play with or play against, it's really I just cannot play it. Like I play the game for fun. That's the main reason. Even if I make unranked unfun for other people because I'm playing some builds that is just not as like good at, like people are playing some Firebrand and I'm playing Condi Evoker. Yeah, I guess that's a bit unfair, but I don't know. I think it's unranked. No one cares that much about winning or losing. But Amalgam is really unfun to play against. Really, really unfun. So let's see how many we can get. I think I'm not getting my record here. That is okay. It's okay. Yeah. There's another meta map with like 20 people in squad. Yeah. Let's see. We can just, I guess, switch then. I don't really like. I think there might be a meta like people here. Let's see. I should probably not do that in the adventure. I just noticed. It's fine. I already have gold. I did this adventure so many times that I actually don't even know how much you need for gold. Yeah. I think you need like a 25. Yeah, that is a really easy adventure. Okay, let's see. This might not actually be. Oh, that's the one that I'm in. Yeah. See, that's what I meant. You will get in eventually, so it's fine. It's fine. We did it. Now we can chill for the next 15 minutes, I think, on the map, and then we can do the meta event. Immortal Duelist. I think this, like, probably the most immortal duelist right now in PvP is like Amalgam. You play Amalgam with like short bow and you're just really annoying them with CC and you're really tanky as well. But I don't really like to make a video about it because I just hope it will get nerfed. Like, this is not a fun build. I don't want to talk more about it. It's just not, I don't want to see more of it. Yeah. Welcome, Snowbleed. Welcome. Hope you're having a nice day so far. That goes for all of you in chat, of course. Yeah, it's definitely a shocker. I can fully understand if like the new legendaries are insane in terms of how much value you need to sink into them, like research notes as well. That's a big like annoying thing to spend on. But for like economy reasons and longevity of this patch, I think it makes sense to say, okay, we want to make players play the game long term, not just like for a week because of a certain legendary. I think it makes sense. Guild Wars 3 coming out soon? I mean, depends what your definition of soon is, and we have no confirmation yet, but I would say it's potentially on the horizon, yeah. I actually have some roadmap analysis planned for the next week as well, so stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for that. Welcome, Wiz. Welcome, welcome. Hope you're all doing great today. What class would you recommend for raids fractals right now? Would love to play only one class, but multiple builds. The good part is actually I would say you can play essentially every class in raids and fractals, and you can fit in multiple builds. It's really like, it does not really matter which class you pick, because all of them have really good meta builds and you can switch around and have good like role coverage. Especially fractals are a bit more rigid though. So if you go for the really try-hard top-end builds, I think Mesmer as a support is really good right now. Like Troubadour, Chronomancer, they are really good. So if you want to fill the support role that already like has you somewhat, I wouldn't say like locked in, but somewhat covered. So Mesmer is like generally a really good pick. Good power-up DPS option, good like support option, and like some hybrid options as well. I don't know. I think like Mesmer is probably one of the top picks for me right now. Come on, respawn. But that's just my analysis there, I would say. Exactly, the bomb kit short bow amalgam, exactly, that's the one. I really dislike this. That's why I don't play ranked right now. So not immortal duelist except the short bow amalgam. I would say the one that I played, the Carrion Evoker, is not immortal, but it's pretty tanky as well if you play it correctly. You could see how I outlasted the other two people like in 1v2 forever essentially. It's a tanky build, yeah. Other than that, I mean, you could play some really nasty bunker DH or some really nasty bunker, yeah, essentially like Paragon or something like that. You could do that, but I think they're not as good. And typically for me, I would rather have some build that is less bunkery, but at least is good then, you know. You can play some really crazy bunker stuff, but that doesn't make a build good in my opinion. I would say a well-rounded kit is way more important than being like insanely tanky, and I think like bruiser builds is typically the way to do it in like side note PvP, especially if you want to carry rankeds. How many do I need? One more. Okay. Should be fine in this chamber here. Come on. There we go. Did it. Yes, I'm live, exactly. Exactly. So we don't know about Guild Wars 3 until we get an official announcement. We know a lot of stuff behind the scenes, but that does not necessarily mean that we know exactly everything. Yeah. So it could be like that they are giving us an announcement in August. It could be that they give us an announcement like in 2 weeks. It could be that they will never announce it because it fails behind the scenes. Who knows? Yeah. But we have to see. And Teapot's video was really well done and brought everything, I would say, on point. I made a video like 6 months ago that was a bit more detailed and less, so to say, the big overview, more in detail. And you can still watch it. It's still, so to say, up to date. It's still the same facts that we have, of course. But you will never know for sure what the game is, if there is a game, what they actually plan with it, until they announce it. That's just how it works. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Ritualist can be tanky as well. Good point. Yeah. I saw a Spellbreaker build on Snowcross that says it's a handkite build. What does that mean? So there is one boss in Raid specifically, which is called Demos. It's Wing 4, the end boss, so to say. And there is one role that a certain player, out of the 10 players in the squad, has to fill. That is just always there, and that's the hand-kiting role. It's like essentially a role where you have to tank a lot of damage and have some blocks in there, and don't do anything else than that. You don't deal damage, you don't provide boons, you just sit there and do the job. That's essentially it. It's a really boring role, but it needs a specialized build, and that's, for example, this Spellbreaker build. Yeah. As someone who wants to make Elementalist better than a floor tank, what would you suggest? Looking for a solid general electric spec? I think you could stick with Elementalist. You just need to maybe adjust your build or adjust your playstyle. But if you want to swap to a different class, I think personally, every class can be better than, so to say, just being in downstate all the time, because every class has builds nowadays that are tanky and like have some sustain in there that can, so to say, get you back on track if you did a mistake or if you did get hit very hard or something. So for example, I'm playing right now this build that I will also play during the meta event. It's just a quickness DPS Herald, very forgiving build. Is it lightning? No, but you know, Elementalist is the lightning spec. There is not a real lightning build other than like Elementalist, I would say, if you want to really have the class fantasy. But there are builds that are somewhat more forgiving on Elementalist as well. You can play a Tempest, for example, Fresh Air Tempest, more forgiving. Yeah. Yeah, I think the bomb kit rework, that is a good point. I think the bomb kit rework was amazing. It's really good in PvE. I think it's really nice. The problem is that it has so much CC, especially in competitive modes, that it's just like, if this has somewhat low cooldowns, it's like you cannot play this. It's against this. It's so annoying with the CC spam and then the trait that gives you stability on quickness. And quickness, when you use it and hit with the CC, it's insane. It's really like the combination of those two things makes Amalgam absolutely disgusting. And I think they either have to nerf the cooldowns or make it rework this one trait completely, that they don't have permas quickness on stability, and then the CC chaining would at least be counterplayable by CC chaining them, something like that. But who knows? Yeah. So you mean no Elementalist spec? Yeah, I think personally, like, tell me what class fantasy you would actually like to play, and I tell you a build for it. That's pretty much the way I would do it, because every class fantasy, every class has a really good, like, somewhat easy to learn and forgiving build, and you don't need to play Elementalist if you don't want to. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, my wishlist for Guild Wars 3 is longer than the Bible. I think a lot of people have a big wish list. You have to always keep in mind that a lot of people have their wishes, but that does not really mean that their wishes will come true. So if you have some facts or have some job listings, you can always interpret something in there that you wish would be there and think it's actually in there, but it's actually just some kind of subjective, like, projection in job listing. So I think that's why you have to be very careful with, like, spreading facts that are not actually facts. Yeah. I want a Guild Wars 3. Yeah, I think that is a very important thing to notice here. Like, I'm a veteran and I have a lot in Guild Wars 2. Yeah, and I played this game for way too many hours. But even though I have so many legendaries, I have so much stuff unlocked, I want a fresh start. I want a new game where I can play again and enjoy myself just starting from scratch. That does not necessarily mean I don't know anything about the game. Yeah, maybe it uses a somewhat similar combat system. Maybe it uses some somewhat similar progression system. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it, Corbeck. Thanks a lot. Hope you're enjoying the stream. Thanks for your support. But I think a restart, like having to just learn the game again, maybe get some new stuff, like new legendary grinds or whatever that is the end game content of the new game, that would be amazing to me. I want to engage with more of that. So personally, I would love a Guild Wars 3, yeah? But I can understand that some people don't want to play it, but that's fine. I think Guild Wars 2 will never go anywhere. In the next 10 years, you can still play Guild Wars 2 and it will still probably get some updates as well, even though there might be a new ship on the market, yeah? For sure, yeah. Absolutely. Have you ever been tested for rare genetic diseases? I actually haven't. It's an interesting question. It doesn't have anything to do with the game, but it's an interesting question. I don't know, how much does it cost, or what is like the thing that you can get it done with, you know? It's interesting, very interesting. Welcome, Patricia, welcome. How are you doing today? But yeah, it's an interesting question. I don't know how did you, like, come up with this question, to be honest. It's just like a curiosity, yeah. It's not a disease, it's just German. Yeah, that is true. I think the question was actually not meant offensive, as far as I can tell. It was just an honest question, if I have ever been tested for rare genetic diseases. I think that's a completely fine question. I think they were not offending me, as far as I understood this, yeah. Yeah. If you had to choose one class to do all the gameplay, raids, PvP, fractals, world versus world, which class would you choose and why? Either Guardian or a Mesmer. The two classes that I would always recommend to players that want to play every single piece of the game is Guardian or Mesmer. Not necessarily because they are always the best at a certain game mode. That is not the case. So for example, Mesmer in PvP right now is not the best if you are not like an extremely skilled player. But I think the flexibility that those two classes have, the amount of role coverage you have in their kit, makes it so that it does not matter which game mode you play, you will always be useful. Guardian is extremely good with utility, has good damage builds, has good support builds. The same goes for Mesmer in all game modes. And that's why I think I would always recommend those two builds if you want to play all game modes and you want to play only one class. One of those two classes, top tier. Yeah. Yes, I have the Ancora staff. I do have. Yes, I have essentially. Essentially, I have all the legendary weapons. Yes. So if you want a showcase, I can equip it if I find the correct fashion template. Give me a second. There we go. That's the skin that you mean. I think it's a nice skin. It's not the best looking skin though. I think the draw animation is quite nice. The skin itself is okay. Yeah. It's quite expensive for what you get, I would say. I think generally speaking, it's not that cheap, but for syndromal people, it should be covered. Okay, interesting. Good to know. Good to know. I'm doing great. I think it's a nice Saturday morning and having some fun, having some really cool stuff prepared for the stream later. So I think when we are done with this meta event, if I find a map, I want to do a silver waste run so I can open a big, like over 50 reward tracks, or we can also do some build crafting if I don't find a map. I have some really interesting Soul Beast build that I want to try, or theory craft first, and then we will see how it works. Yeah. Yeah. I think, Korbeck, that is an interesting point that a lot of players that play Guild Wars 2 that have a lot of legendaries want to take them into the next game. But I think that would be the biggest mistake that Arena can make. Because you want to make the new game accessible to players that are not playing Guild Wars 2 right now. If players that played Guild Wars 2 will get all their gear transferred and have the best in slot gear within the new game, it's the biggest mistake that is possible. It's just straight up, because that will just alienate players that have never played Guild Wars 2. Then they say, why should I play it if the game before is the prerequisite to actually get the best in slot gear, or just have to grind it not that much. And it would also, the player base would not have as much time spent in the new game because you already have the best in slot gear. I can get your point, but I'm saying that's not a smart decision, like economically. Yeah. We will see. Maybe the healing, like Snowbleach puts it out. Maybe the healing, maybe the gearing system, maybe that stuff will be more towards WoW, which is a little bit of a different system. And I think that there is space for that. I think Guild Wars 2 is a completely different MMO, and I think Guild Wars 3, when it comes out, will probably also be quite different. And it could get back to the like MMO routes, like from learning from how single target healing works, how just vertical progression works. Maybe. Who knows? I'm not saying that's necessarily bad or good. It's just something that I would say is possible. Yeah, it's possible. Yeah. What would you guess is the main problem Chronomancer player struggles the most with? I think Chronomancer is a build that is very dependent on learning and understanding when to use your Continuum Split. And I think Continuum Split is something that is for a new player just very confusing to understand in the beginning. But then you also have to understand that in an actual fight, even if you get it within the rotation, how it works, it's very hard to understand, should I use my Continuum Split now, even though it comes off cooldown just now, or should I use it in like I don't know, 30 seconds when there is a better time slot for it. I think that is the hardest part about Chronomancer. It doesn't matter if you're healer, DPS, whatever you play, it's always like, when should I use my continuous split in actual fights? And I think that is something that a lot of new players struggle with somewhat, yeah. For sure. I'm playing currently Quick DPS Herald. I have a build guide coming up about it. I have also already an old school build guide about it, like a year ago or something on my channel. Just classic. You can always type !website or builds, one of those two, in the chat, YouTube, Twitch, doesn't matter, and you will get a link to my website and you will find it there. It's a very old school build. Just quickness, DPS, Herald, very fun, easy to tech, really good build. Yeah, it could be like Holy Trinity coming back. I think the only thing that is pretty much for certain is that the game will be more action-oriented. So right now we have a lot of tap targeting, so if I target an enemy, it's like targeted and I can use teleports and stuff towards it, or using single target attacks. I think the game that will come out in the future, if it's called Guild Wars 3 or whatever, will be more action-oriented. I think that is pretty much a given. I think that does not exclude having like traditional Holy Trinity or something like that. I think it will be more action-oriented. Yeah. Started with the Legendary Obsidian Light Armor. I kind of main Enchi, but I have every necessary ascended set for it and was not playing Ranger of Thief. And the light class is really interesting, therefore I thought I made it made sense. All the Visions of Eternity anti-gravity seems super fun, which leans against into medium armor. I'm 3 pieces away from finishing the light armor. It probably makes sense to finish that. Yeah, I think I would finish it first. And you can take your gear from the Engineer to your Antiquary if you want to play, because Ascended gear is just easily swappable. And you can then after that work on the medium armor as well. But I can understand that if you say, I want to play with the legendary gear on my medium classes now, then it makes sense to switch. I'm not saying that you should not switch. I'm just saying you should have to like keep in mind which is for you the most interesting class to play. And if you will continue to think that for the next 3, 6, 12 months. And then if you say, no, I don't want to play light classes, then I think it will probably is the best answer to say, yep, I will stick with like medium armor and just switch now. If you say, no, I actually enjoy light armor classes as well, then I would probably finish it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Chronomancer is really fun. It's a really fun class. I think it's also a very unique class. It does not really have a lot of other, like in other MMOs, you don't have a lot of class fantasies, designs that are somewhat similar to a time mage. Like at least not very well executed, in my opinion. Yeah. I use Herald for Gathering from my homestead daily because it can give perma quickness with 1 button. But is there another build that can give perma quickness easily for Gathering? Perma quickness with 1 button. I mean, Herald is probably one of the best ones for that. What else do you have? With 1 button specifically. It's not a heavy armor class when I think about it. It's definitely not. It is with, I mean, you could say maybe Troubadour if you have insane boon duration and stuff. You could probably get like with like pressing F5 of cooldown, somewhat get away with it, maybe. Elementalist definitely not it. Yeah, I guess it's the only class that can play it with a single button. The most either have to be in combat or don't have a single button and have multiple buttons to be pressed. I'm pretty sure, yeah. Yeah, I think that this... I mean, yeah, I think you cannot get perma quickness with 1 button. That's why Herald is so so easy to use. But that's probably also the reason why they don't buff its damage, because it's the lowest damaging quickness DPS build out there. Yeah. What happened to the Strikes LFG? The Strikes LFG is now in the Raids LFG. So if you go and check out the Raids, you will find people going for Strike missions and Raids because they merged it. That's one system now. Thanks a lot, Bipsy. Really appreciate it. Thanks a lot for the Prime. Hope you're enjoying the stream. Thanks for the support. Yeah, exactly. We got a very cool Celestial open world build for Chronomancer. That sounds good. Yeah, I mean, I just made a video about Chronomancer, and I think Chronomancer as a solo build or as an open world build is extremely like strong. Like people underestimate how good that one is, especially in solo cases. Whoop. Okay. Yeah, I'm not specifically saying actually Snowbleach that this doesn't exist. I'm just saying I cannot come up with something out of my mind. Maybe in WoW they have it because WoW is a big game, yeah. I think like when I think about like Final Fantasy or the other MMOs, I think they don't have a class like that. And I think I have to be honest, you know, it needs a fluid combat system and not some kind of global cooldown or something like that if you are wanting to make Time Mage like Chronomancer work. I think if you have a more action-oriented combat system, I think it's even better there. I think in Guild Wars 2 it's good, it works well, because you have one button that you can go back to and stuff like that. But if you have a more rigid, more tap target oriented game, I think it makes less sense or is less fun to play than if it's more action oriented. Maybe it's just me, but I think like a Time Mage makes sense in a very fast-paced, fluid combat system. Yeah. Yeah. I always hear people talking about Celestial stats being good, but every time I check out open world builds and Snowcross and Meta Battle, they're always Berserker stats or something. So the thing is, you have to understand, there are two mindsets that you have to have in open world. First of all, an open world build is not clear and very specific what you mean with it. So an open world build can be a solo build. That specifically means that you want to be alone, or you don't care if other players are around or not, and you will still be able to solo everything. Yeah, that is a different kind of build where Celestial shines a lot. But if you are doing stuff that I'm doing, which is also in the open world right now, but this is not alone. It's the complete opposite. It's not alone at all. I'm completely like with 50 other players. Yeah, so this does not require, or is not really that good with Celestial. You play Berserker there, you play like Viper gear or something like that, because you're having friends around that provide boons, that provide healing and stuff. So you don't want to play a build that is self-sufficient if there are 50 other players that share their like boons, everything with you. So I would say that's very important to understand, that open world builds is a very open-minded like saying. I would say solo builds is more of like makes more sense to say. That's very clear that you mean then you want to be self-sufficient, or meta event builds. But I have actually videos coming up about meta event builds that I really would recommend and would like to see more people play because they're really good. So stay tuned for that. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like losing clones on trash mobs on Mesmer Chronomancer, that's why I don't play Chronomancer in open world. I play Chronomancer a lot in like raids and fractals and stuff like that, but I don't play it at all in open world. I think in open world, if you're a solo build, sure, but if you're in a meta event, no. I think meta event is like not the best build. Like play rather Troubadour or even Virtuoso, yeah, because then you don't have the clone issue. Welcome, Mr. Chime. Welcome, welcome. Been loving your YouTube content, feeling stuck trying to find a good low intensity DPS build. Any general recommendations? I feel like so much YouTube content is outdated with the big April update that invalidated a lot. Your old Gate Shot one looked perfect, but now it's yeah, the Gate Shot one is like the saddest video on my YouTube channel, I would say. I made the video when Visions of Eternity released. It was a good low intensity build, but it was not a broken one. Yeah, it was camping the Gate Shot bow, yeah, the Cyclone bow. And then they nerfed it within like 2 weeks. They nerfed the damage output, just straight up. And then in April, they nerfed the damage output again. And now it's like essentially the worst low intensity builds. It's probably the class that has the worst low intensity build, Gale Shot. It's actually crazy. So I hope to revisit it at some point, but right now it's just like, nah, cannot do it. Other than that, I actually think about doing a low intensity tier list where I update all the values and give you my, so to say, opinion on low intensity DPS builds. But in general, I think all of my builds except the Gale Shot low intensity DPS build are still up to date. So you can just copy and paste everything that I said in the video and just like say subtract probably like 3k DPS or something. Yeah, yes, you have less DPS, but the build itself is completely up to date. So it's just the numbers change. That's why I'm a bit hesitant to do all of the low intensity builds again, because essentially it's like I do the same video, just saying a different benchmark number. Yeah. So it's just the Gale Shot build that is now so low and so bad that I would not recommend it. Every other low intensity build can just play exactly the same. Hope that makes sense. But if you have any specific questions, just let me know. Yeah. Where's the best place to get the weekly complete 5 group events? I mean, maybe someone in chat knows. I just would do any meta event. You would probably have a really good time. What is needed in meta events in general? I would say having DPS and providing some boons. Like, for example, Quickness DPS level that I'm just playing provides some nice damage. while having good boon output for your allies. And that is just perfect. You don't want to have crazy amounts of heals, you don't want to have crazy amounts of tankiness, because you have players around. You know, it's not something that I would say is very important in a big group. It's more important that you deal damage. Yeah, it's pretty much... get the kill before it does? No. Okay. Yeah, that's my analysis there. New to the game, why does it matter? What's good for the meta event? Isn't it low difficulty? Yes, meta events is low difficulty, but that does not mean you should not play something that makes sense. Yeah. So I personally would say play something that's fun to you, but also play something that makes a somewhat sense. You know, you should not play a full tank in a meta event just because you find it fun, because it has absolutely no value for anyone. Yeah. If you play full tank, it's just grieving, so to say, your allies around. I think you should always understand that in a meta event, you want to have some capabilities to help your party, but most importantly, also want to deal some damage. Yeah. But of course, it's a game. Everyone should play what they find fun, but there are so many options for good builds that are fun that I think it's not a big requirement of people that actually look outside of the game to find a build that actually works for them and is decently good at it. Yeah. But in general, yeah, some of the fights also have harder phases where you need some healing, and you can get a bit more, like, it can be a bit more tense. You have sometimes some time restrictions, but in general, I would say open world is pretty easy in Guild Wars 2, yeah, especially if you are in more active maps. Yes, you group up for meta events. Meta events are, like, you can see there are like at least 50 players around me here. So it's a big, like, chunk of squad action, player action, yeah. For conditions, Scourge and Reaper, how much is the DPS difference between full Viper, Trailblazer, and Celestial? So, Trailblazer difference on Scourge and Reaper is not as high. I would say it's probably it's guesses here. I don't know the exact numbers, but I would be surprised if it's like more than 20%. It's probably like 10-15% of damage loss. Yeah, so it's noticeable, but it's not like insane. Trailblazer is actually a decent DPS stat if you don't mind being the tank in some raids. Other than that, I would say Celestial is a big loss. It's like Celestial Scourge, probably you reach like 25k DPS, and in full Viper gear you reach 40k DPS. So you lose almost like 40% of your DPS. So it's definitely a loss. Yeah, Celestial is noticeable. You trade a lot of your defenses that you get for a lot of damage loss. So I would say Viper is like, it makes sense that you run Viper. Even Ritualist gear is a loss over Viper in terms of DPS, even though Ritualist gear is commonly used in some boon DPS builds. Yeah, it's just necessary, but you would rather run Viper in most builds. That makes sense. Welcome, Humph. Welcome, welcome. Welcome, Beard and Rock. Welcome. Hope you had a nice time. I feel basically, because all I play in MMOs is DPS, should I try to force myself to play harder roles like support? I think if you enjoy the game and you are willing to learn and put some effort in and not say I'm DPS monkey brain and I don't care about mechanics, and then I think learning support is very like rewarding. I play a lot of support in Guild Wars 2 because I think you can carry your groups harder than with the DPS build. And in my opinion, it's also like you have more agency. That means that you are, so to say, if you know what you're doing, you feel better at it. You know, a DPS player, it's like, yeah, sure, you deal DPS, but you know, everyone can play DPS. Not everyone can support. I think that gives you a feeling of like being useful. And I think that's a great thing. Yeah, I personally really like that. But it's not for everybody. It's definitely more actions or more awareness of the fight than if you play a full DPS build. For sure, for sure. I would recommend it though. I think it's definitely worthwhile. It's very worthwhile to learn. Those sights really hurt. Yeah. I trained a lot with my version of Condi Hammer Tempest, and at worst it does 31k, at best 35k. Nice, that's good. That sounds good, yeah. Good numbers for a build that is definitely not a meta build, but a fun build nonetheless. Yeah. Builds that function, more fun than builds that don't. I'm with you there. I think like I would never play a build that is fun on like paper as a designed build, but it does not work at all. I always like to have the efficiency mindset, yeah? And that's why I don't like to play builds that are like somewhat of a roleplay aspect or whatever decent, but in terms of like gameplay and how they function, they are not good. So for example, that's a really mean example as well, but I personally really like Fire Weaver in PvP. Yeah, it's a build where you focus fully on dealing damage with like burning and conditions and stuff like that. It's a really cool concept. But in the current meta, it's just grieving. It's really bad. It's a really bad build. It just needs buffs. So I don't play it, even though it's one of my all-time favorite builds. I just play it when it's good, not when it's not good, even though I really enjoy the build. Good example, yeah. Let me tell you, Spear Weaver feels like the best combination as it has been weaving between all elements. Yeah, I really wanted to make some content about Spear on Elementalists, especially Weaver, because it's really nice. But I have to learn it first, and I think right now it's in a spot where it's still not as easy and not as like strong as it could be. So maybe one more patch where they buff it, but right now it's actually surprisingly good as well. It's maybe I should just give it a try. Yeah. Welcome, Syntropy. Welcome. Is there some updated tier list about meta classes for each role in Fractals? So let me think about it, but I actually think I have currently a video about meta classes in Fractals up on the channel. I think it might be just for channel members first, but it might come out this week. So I'm pretty sure it comes out this week. So stay tuned. Check out my YouTube channel. I have an updated version of that. Yes, I do. Welcome, Qwerty. Would you recommend power or condition Soul Beast? For most situations, I would recommend power, even though it has less benchmark damage. It's just in actual fights it does more damage. So I personally would say that's better, but that's just me. Yeah. If you like Condi, go for Condi. So let's see if we have some Silverways going. Hopefully, maybe not. We will see. Maybe. They are like somewhat there. Not yet. Because I need the Silver Vest to open my reward track. We will see that later. Yeah. Is 22k DPS on a Dragon Hunter in Fractals low? That is more on the lower end, yes. Dragon Hunter is a build that can deal in Fractals like you should. It depends what you mean 20k, 22k. So a build that does 22k on the Golem is considered low. But if you're doing it in actual fights, that might be actually decent. It depends on the fight. So I would personally say train on the Golem in the Special Forces trainings area in Lion's Arch. And if you have anything that is like that's over 35k, it's a good, then you're pretty much like good. And yeah, that's what I would recommend. And then in real fights, it's always depending on the fight. Are there a lot of phases? Is it like a burst fight where you just end the fight in 5 seconds? Then your DPS should be more like 50k or something like that. It depends heavily on the fight. Yeah. Just wanted to clarify that. But it can be good, it can be bad, depending on the encounter. Yeah. I recently built an Alacrity Heal Druid with Staff and Mace Warhorn. Want to take that into normal raids? I think that sounds good. Like, I think Mace is a good weapon to use, yeah. Then I just spam healing to keep up Alacrity, even though I'm not actually healing as required. Is that intended way? I think only CA3 and 5 do any damage. Yes, that is pretty much what you do as a druid, yeah. The 5 skill actually is not even that much damage. The thing is, if you play a condition build on druid, you deal damage with the 5, the 2, and the 3 skill. If you're playing any other build that is not condition based on druid, then essentially your CA does almost no damage. It's really just for the utility. It's not a you don't want to essentially deal any damage with the setup that you have there. It's typically utility, healing, CC, yeah, stuff like that. It's just the design of the class. Yeah. Welcome, Buddha. Welcome. Give Spear Weaver a try so that maybe you will find a good and easy rotation for me to learn. Yeah, I think Spear Weaver is something that is like on my to-do list pretty high up. It's just something that I need to put some effort in. It's not something that I can say, yeah, I will get it done, you know. It needs some time to spend there. Welcome, Snowdrop. Welcome. But damage in Fractals is always higher because of the fractal portion. Yeah, the thing is, that's why benchmarks exist. That's one of the most important parts about benchmarks, is that is easy to compare. If a Dragon Hunter does on the Golem 41k DPS, and Soul Beast does 39k DPS, then you know which does the most damage in an ideal situation when you have a fight that has 4 million HP. But in Fractals, you have the potions, you have fights that are essentially 10 seconds long, but you also have fights that are 3 minutes long. So in one of them, Dragon Hunter and Soul Beast shine. In others, they are not that good, because a fight that takes 3 minutes, a burst in the first 10 seconds doesn't really matter if you then deal less damage over the course of time. So it's always situational dependent, especially in Fractals, and that's why you have builds that are really good in certain single Fractals, and builds that are just better in others, and that's just how it works. The same goes for raids, but in raids is a bit less rigid in my opinion, because almost every fight can be played with, like, say, Power Virtuoso is a build that you can play essentially on every single boss, and it works. If you play, for example, Condi Soul Beast, that is really good in a certain challenge mode in Fractals, that is not really good in, like, for example, I don't know, another tier 4 Fractal. It's really a bit more rigid in Fractals. That's the whole point I'm getting to. Yeah. Okay. Welcome, Haldir. Welcome. Everyone is here today. Very nice. I like it. So I wanted to get some silver waste going to open a big reward track, but I'm not sure if we can find enough players to actually, or like if there's some action going on, because silver waste is not the most active map anymore. Let's see if we find some silver wastes. Otherwise we might just have to be here and help them. Could be okay. But we really want to get some more, how's it called? Magic find. So I want to get to 750 magic find. And I guess we can just like do some silver wastes. I guess we have nothing else to do. So let's do that then. Some silver wastes here. Because 750 magic find is insanely good if you want to open PvP reward track boxes. That's exactly what I want to do later today. I can show you that in a second. I want to open, where is it here? Here, this Bank Tab 14 has, I think, 58 Visions of Eternity reward tracks stacked up. Yes, there are only 52 boxes, but I used those for relics. So 58 Visions of Eternity reward track boxes that I want to open here with 750% magic find. And the best way to do so is here on Silver Wastes. Silver Waste is an insanely good map for that, because you get essentially a 150% magic find buff by just completing the meta event. And that will do. Yeah. It's actually not PvP, it's PvP and World vs. World together. And I would say 90% of it is World vs. World. So yes, you are right, there are some PvP boxes as well, but they stack together. So it's mostly World vs. World. And this is the preparation for one of my largest videos that I have prepared, and I'm already teasing for like half a year or something, which is I want to do a World vs. World reward track guide. Or not reward track, actually reward guide. So how much gold does an actual player that plays normal casually World vs. World get? And this is the preparation for it. Because I want to, of course, know how much a reward track gives in general sometimes, yeah, depending on what the reward track you choose. That is something that I want to like start with today's stream, and will do in the next few weeks, hopefully get it done, because that's a lot of research to do. What's an easy healer that I can try if I'm trying to learn support for the first time? I would say Paragon is easy, Scourge is easy. Those two are really, really easy to get into. Yeah, I would recommend those two. I never understood how to get into Silver West. Like, I understand the events, but I never see it active. I will just now do the events, and I think there are other people doing it as well. So there is not too much, like, you can see the progress bar is actually filling up while we just complete events. Silver West is a bit outdated. I wouldn't say it's bad, actually. If you're a core player and don't have any expansion, it's probably the best gold farm you can get. But I would say for most players, you have expansion access, and then you will probably have a better expansion, better gold farm that you have access to. In general, you just want to defend the forts here. And as soon as you defended the forts, I will tell you about the other events that you have to complete. You have to kill some bosses, and then you have to kill the end boss here at the end of this jungle, I don't know, tendrils or something. Before that, it's essentially just defend like World vs. World objectives. Yeah, pretty much for half an hour or something. what's the reason you open them there? The thing is 750% magic find. You can see I've already 706. I actually don't need to get the meta event. I have to be honest, I have enough boosts to actually get to 750% without the meta event. That's even better. But you open them there because there you get, like I said, 150% magic find buff for essentially just completing the meta event, which is like just crazy because 150% magic find is essentially like a fifth of what you need for the maximum, which is 750. And otherwise you need boosts, you need food, you need everything. So for most players, it's way more achievable to do just one meta event than getting all the buffs that I have. Yeah. And those reward boxes, that's probably the most important part to mention here. Those reward boxes scale with the magic find that you have. So you get better loot on average by opening them with higher magic find. Yes. So that is essentially the most important part here. Yeah. Troubadour is easy as well. Good point by Piggy. Yeah. And of course for science. Yes, exactly. For science. Are all PvP boxes affected by magic find? Yes and no. So the answer is yes, all PvP boxes are affected. There are some exceptions though. In general, you can say almost everything that has like this, like, now we have 5, that's very good. I think we are done, we can open now, that's good. So, essentially you can summarize every PvP box that has like this classic brownish color. Those here and like those two, those are always affected. Stuff that is not affected is, for example, the gearboxes where you have to choose something. So everything that is like selectable is not affected. Everything that is not selectable, with almost no exception, is affected. Yeah. Okay, so I think we can actually open it. So we will get all the reward tracks out that we have here. A lot of boxes. Hopefully I have everything well set up here. I guess we open also those, but they are selectable, so it's not a surprise what it's in there. And we take a look at my magic find, which is 736. And then I will pop another booster. And it should be 750. It's probably way overcapped, but it's okay. 750, and let's check if we have the timers. Okay, you have to make sure that everything is still up there for the next like 20 minutes or something when I open it. Yep, looks good. Nice, we don't want to lose magic find while opening. And we open it, yeah. So, yeah, loot box opening stream, exactly, that's what it is. So we have 750 magic find. I will quickly also, for reference, scroll through my wallet, because we see what we get for spirit shards and gold and stuff, so that I can then calculate everything later without having to, like, I don't know, guess how much I got. Just scrolling quickly through my wallet, nothing special, I just want to have the data for later. And that's it. And now we have all the boxes. Wait, this is not the box, this is the only box that we don't need. And I have a really big inventory. I have to get it bigger, I guess. Okay, that's the biggest inventory I think you can get in Guild Wars 2. Just for opening those boxes. I guess I will also put the thing back in the bank. And we have, yeah, essentially 492 slots to open. So open spaces, I think that's pretty good. Yeah. So let's see. I think we covered everything. Let's double check. I covered how much gold I have. I have the things that I have in my all the loot boxes here, and I have 750 magic find. I just want to make sure that I don't open it with like anything forgotten, because it's definitely something that is somewhat like important. Yeah. Okay. And the map is not closing. That's also good. So I think we can just open. We can go ahead. Okay. Let's see. Probably, this is saved up over the last like 6 months or something from playing World vs. World mostly and PvP and some PvP. Yeah. And I don't know. It might be like not worth at all to open. We will see. Let's just open. Let's see what comes out of it. A lot of chunk, a lot of like random stuff. It's life or death basically. Exactly. Bottomless bag. Yeah. Let's see what comes out. I have no clue. It's just a lot of like trash probably, and a lot of unidentified gear, I would guess. Just, you know, there we go. This is the 2 rings already. This is what I mean for Magic Find affecting it. Magic Find affects the rarity of loot that drops, and so I get a lot of Ascended gear, which I then can salvage, which will give me, on average, some gold back as well. So, and if you need the Ascended gear, it's even better. Yeah, so you get essentially a lot of loot that is valuable for all players, and for some players, Ascended gear that you don't have. For example, we can get some armor boxes, stuff like that. It can get even more value because, you know, Ascended gear is might not be as easy to come by as for other players. You see how many rings I get. There we go. We get a weapon chest as well. So I actually get a lot of like good rewards here, yeah, for players that are into that. You see, I get actually also a lot of Division of Eternity map currency. Not that I need it specifically, but I get pretty high amounts of that for just opening the boxes here. Yeah, I think I'm a bit overkill with my inventory. I have to be honest. I think I did not need that many slots. I'm like halfway through or like 1/3 through of my opening, and it's like not even covered like by 20%. Yeah. What do you say? Salvaging Ascended gives gold. Didn't they remove the research notes? Yes. You cannot get research notes, but I mean, you can get some research notes, but I mean specifically you can get with the Ascended Salvage Kit. If you use the Ascended Salvage Kit, you can get some fractal matrices or something, how they're called, and those you can sell on the trading post. And that means that this ring has a vendor value of 5 silver essentially, but if you salvage it and beforehand attune it, you actually get 2 rolls at it, and it will on average give you per ring like a profit of a couple of silver, so, or even more, like 10 silver or something like that. So that's actually pretty solid. So those rings, even if you say you need a salvage kit which costs 1 gold each, you actually get a good amount of value for salvaging with the Ascended Salvage Kit. Not researching. Yeah, I mean, Magic Find maxing is not that important. I would say it's just for someone like me that wants to optimize everything, then it's important, but for most people it's really not that important. Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure this how long I took. I did not stop. I did not like have some kind of timer running or something how long it took. I did not play that much PvP. Like I play 1 PvP match per day essentially. That's pretty much it. And for World vs. World, I don't play that much World vs. World either. Like I would say it's not little amount, but it's definitely, there are people here in chat like this that play way more and have way more reward tracks. It's just, I thought it's a decent number, decently enough high number to actually open the boxes. Exactly, stabilizing metrics. Thanks a lot. Yeah, that was the name, exactly. If you use World vs. World boosts, it actually doesn't take long to get so many boxes. Yeah, I always run around with boosts. Yeah, there we go, another chest, armor chest this time. Yeah, I did not use any, I used all the time boosters and stuff like that. Okay, so what do we do now? We probably open all the reward decks, the ones that we can sell, but we open them just to see what actual loot is in there. And then I guess we have to salvage some stuff, I guess. You will see, you will see. Yeah, I think it's, for me, I like to play efficiently. Like when I play World vs. World, I run around with almost all the boosts that are somewhat decently cheap, because I think like if you run around with not full boosts, then I always feel not as efficient. You know, it feels like I'm missing out on getting loot for the same stuff that I play. So I always like to run around with the maximum boosts. And that's why this, I don't know, might have been that it's not even like, maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's only like a couple of months. I don't know. I have no clue about it, to be honest. Okay, so let's salvage some stuff as well. And we get also some like random white gear that we can salvage here. And I guess that's what we got. Like there is not much to say about it. Some exotic stuff, a lot of chunk, and I mean a lot of unidentified gear. Like how much unidentified gear did we get? Like a lot. A lot. So that's the main stuff that we got, I guess. And then we can just sort the inventory nicely and see what we got here. And some karma as well, I guess. Just sort it when it looks nicer, and we will salvage all the random stuff, I guess, as well. Yeah, but like I said, this is a preparation for the video that I'm really like doing about what is the best, or what is the gold value that you get from world versus world, essentially. How much world versus world do you need to play to get a certain amount of gold, or the other way asked around, so how much gold per hour do you get by playing world versus world? Because I think a lot of people underestimate how much you get, like a lot. You get so much world versus world, different currencies, loot and stuff like that. Reward track is only a small fraction of that. It really is. So I want to like start with the reward track here, but I will go over every single piece that you get in world versus world and what the value of that is. That will be a long like research thing. It's not a video that I will do today, but I'm working on it. Yeah. Okay, so then let's put the ascended weapon stuff and rings here. Just make some nice looking inventory and see, so that everyone can see how much we got. But it's actually, I'm surprised we didn't get that much ascended stuff. It mostly was in the beginning some rings, but that's pretty much it. We didn't get like that much armor boxes or anything, like 2 armor boxes. It's not that much. Could have been way more, I would say. Maybe it's just skewed. Like I don't care either way. Let's say. And a lot of like, you have some unidentified gear, some blue ones. Not a lot of blue ones. You can see the magic find kicking in really hard. We get like 6 blue unidentified gear and like a lot of green ones. So they were all, so to say, upgraded to the higher rarity. So yeah, it definitely works, magic find here. Definitely works. You have a lot of exotic stuff, but exotics are not. Those exotics could have been precursors. Just wanted to mention, but other than that, I think like there is not a lot of value here in most of the stuff. It's really just, I would say, unidentified gear that gives you the most amount of value. I guess that's also valuable. How much is that? I think that's also somewhat valuable. Yeah, 10 gold from slabs of poultry meat. So I guess there's some value that we have here. I guess we have some value here. Some Visions of Eternity currency, and then we have a lot of just random crafting materials. And so let's get that all sorted, and we should be having a somewhat nice inventory here. Okay, we have some black line chests, sadly no keys. Yeah. All that from one event? No, this is not one event. This is from opening like 58 reward tracks or something like that. So it's saved over the course of a pretty long time. Yeah. So it's not something that gives. If you get that much from one event, oh yes, that is pretty crazy. But it's not. It's from opening reward tracks. I think now. Yeah, I think that's it. We all have this done, and I guess we can now, like this. If I open those, you get some choosable stuff that is all not very valuable for me, but you also get, that's the most important part here, 2 mystic clovers. Yeah. So this is like 52 boxes, meaning like essentially 104 mystic clovers that I get here. You can roughly say 1 mystic clover has a value of 7 gold if you craft it yourself. So this is a big chunk of the value of a reward track if you can make use out of the mystic clovers. Mystic clovers are of course account bound, so you have to craft them into legendaries to actually get value. But if you ever want to craft a legendary, having the mystic clovers here essentially is like a raw gold, because then you don't have to craft them yourself and don't have to spend gold on them. That's why this is really important to mention here. Other than that, this is really like the most value is here in the unidentified gear. So this is how it looks, roughly somewhat nicely sorted, but okay. You can see some tier 6 materials, not like huge chunks from opening like 58 boxes or something. You get like some like blood, you get decent amount of scales and stuff that is okay from a gold value. You get some lodestones here. but not like crazy. It's really like the main goal that you have here is an undefined gear and some ascended gear. If you're lucky, you get boxes that you actually can use. That's pretty much it. Yes, I'm using OBS to record. Yes. Is Spear a good necro weapon? Yes, it's really fun and pretty good on power-based builds. And can also work on Condi builds, actually. Yeah. Sometimes the exotics are pieces of a collection and a good gold value as well. Yeah, I think like if you're lucky, you can get a precursor that is valuable or a collection item or something. But if you look at what we got and we just sort by the price, then I think the most expensive thing is a Berserker's ring. Yeah, that's essentially the most expensive like exotic we got. And the second most expensive exotic item is like the mask or gear item. It's like 45 silver. So it's, yeah, most of them are not really expensive. It's just if you get lucky, you get something that's valuable. But nowadays, exotics are not really valuable anymore, sadly. It's a bit sad, to be honest, but that's just how it is, yeah. Curious about this question. My guild team in World vs. World is more of a Havoc squad than a Circle or Roam. What classes suit that kind of style with high mobility Havoc style, playstyle with the new patch? Oh, that's a tough question because it always depends on the whole like squad. What is the setup? Like, I think you can play like Berserker as a DPS very well. You can play Willbender as a DPS very well. Conduit shines a lot as a DPS. Those three I would highly recommend because they are like also somewhat tanky and deal a lot of damage. In a Havoc squad, that's probably one of your top picks. AoE, burst damage, power damage, that's really good. You can also play a Condi Conduit actually. Yeah, those three would be my top picks, but it depends heavily on the squad composition. Yeah, reward tracks could need some improvement for sure. What's the best way to get Mystic Clovers? I have a whole video about this topic, how to get Mystic Clovers, but I would say for players that enjoy World vs. World and or PvP, World vs. World or PvP with like a repeatable reward track is insanely valuable to get Mystic Clovers, because you can select them here. If you don't play any competitive modes, then Mystic Clovers is essentially something that is somewhat either time gated and you always go to vendors. I can showcase this. You go to a vendor, like in the Mistlock Sanctuary stuff, or you go to like the raid vendor or something like that, and then you can like once per week go to merchant and buy some Mystic Clovers that are somewhat cheaper than crafting them. But essentially, if you need a lot of Mystic Clovers in PvE, then you probably have to just craft them. It's like PvE is the one slot where you can get Mystic Clovers. I have a full video, like I said, on my YouTube channel that tells you all the methods to get it. But if you need like hundreds of them within a week in PvE, essentially you have to craft them. That's the sad truth there. That's just sadly how it works, yeah. Sadly how it works. Okay, we got the opening done. Let's see if we can get some other stuff that I wanted to do. Yes, so that's a very good question. In any game mode, if you play with a lot of other players, like in World vs. World or in Open World and stuff like that, Effect LOD, I would always check this box. This is a box that is pretty important because it will make your screen like a flashbang if you have it like unchecked. And there are like 50 players with crazy effects playing, then it's just like bam, your eyes explode. If you play PvP, however, this box will limit the detail of particle effects. That's what it says. So if you play PvP and you play against the Harbinger, for example, and the Harbinger uses the Shroud 5 skill, and you have the effect LOD here checked, it is highly possible that the Shroud 5 skill will get removed. You will not see it. The attack will still happen, but you will not see the animation. Meaning that if you want to dodge this attack while it's, so to say, on the ground, and you cannot see it because it got removed in terms of like visual clarity, then you will just maybe die because of the CC. So this is something that is really important in competitive modes. If you play like in a small scale, deactivate this setting. If you play in a large scale, open world, PvE, whatever you do, choose this. I would never run without it in large scale. It's really like really not recommended. Yeah, hydration reminder, good point. Thanks. So, Drizzlewood Coast is a good point. Drizzlewood Coast is something that is definitely, where is it? Where is it? Iceblood Saga here. Drizzlewood Coast is definitely a map that can give you a lot of, or not a lot of, can give you access to Mystic Clovers. But if you need 100 within a week, you will not be able to do that with Drizzlewood Coast. You will get some decent influx if you do it over a course of weeks, play it every day even. But it's not something that is like insanely fast. It's just something that gathers up over time. So if you want to craft a legendary now and need 77 Mystic Clovers, then you have to bite the sour apple and just use the Mystic Forge. I'm really sorry, that's the most expensive way, but this is the way that works all the time. And that's why I made a video about it, talking about all the methods, because for new players especially, you should typically go and try to get as many of those methods done as possible, because then you will save some gold in the long run. And if you're a veteran player, you probably already know most of the methods that are useful for you, because you can go to World vs. World vendor, PvP vendor, Fractal vendor, Raid vendor. They all give you, so to say, discounted Mystic Clovers if you spend some of the specific currency for those game modes. And that can be really good for a veteran. For a new player, maybe not so much. Then farming it with Drizzlewood Coast, getting it from reward tracks and stuff like that is way easier and way more, I would say, consistent than playing raids to get Mystic Clovers, which is, yeah, a bit like weird and weakly gated as well. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly, Snowdrop, exactly. You can, so regarding the effect LOD, you can keep it off in raids if you really wanted to, but I would not recommend it. The thing that I really notice in raids is that you see a lot of attacks that you don't want to see, like, or they are even brighter as well. So I personally would say effect LOD, I would only uncheck this box if you're playing structured PvP, so 5 versus 5 PvP, only there. Everything else, I would probably say just keep it checked. Like, if you only play PvE, I would always keep it checked. I think there is, why would you care if like a Chronomancer well is visible to you or not? Like the damaging well, not the healing well. I'm talking about the damaging well, because you never will be damaged by this well in the first place. So stuff like that. That's why effect LOD is pretty like unimportant, and you just set it once and forget if you only play PvE. If you play competitive modes, you have to swap it all the time. And that's what I do. Yeah. What's the easiest way to turn spirit shards into gold? The easiest way, Mystic Forging like tier 5 materials into tier 6 materials. Yeah, this is the easiest way. Yeah. But it takes a while. It takes a while. Yeah. Does it affect the visuals of your own effects though? So my own effects, I think, are always fully displayed. I think the effect LOD only limits the effects of allies, or like maybe it makes them not as flashy, my attacks, but I'm pretty sure it like you see all the attacks exactly like they are supposed to be. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they are exactly the same. It's more like that the important part here is that you don't see attacks that you don't want to see. Like, imagine a squad in PvE and you do a raid encounter or whatever, and there are like 10 DPS Chronomancers, yeah, or like 8 DPS Chronomancers, and they all use certain wells, and the wells don't give boons, they just deal damage. But you will all see all those 8 wells on top of each other, and they all have like this like ticking sound, all of this like, that's just one example by the way, but all of the just animation of it. This will be limited and you will pretty much not see it. So the difference is, do you see 8 attacks on top of each other, or do you see only the important ones? And that's why I think in PvE, if you want to see the boss mechanics, if you want to see the important attacks that you need to dodge and stuff like that, it's really important that you actually have the effect LOD turned on. Yeah. Exactly. Or exactly, 10 ritualist spamming spirits. There are so many examples where like effect LOD is, in my opinion, helping you to not only learn the mechanics of a fight, but also not, even I as a veteran played like raids all the time, you can just get so much like just like, sorry for the language here, but so much shit on the screen that you don't need if you don't have the effect LOD on, that in a lot of cases I would say like just switch it always off with the checking the box and you're good. It's really PvP and maybe in roaming in World vs. World. Those two are the only times where I would say, yes, there it makes sense to deactivate it. Yeah. Yes, Scarlet, of course you can join a guild. Give me a second. There we go. There we go. Language, exactly. Dance with the bears, I dare you. Okay. Okay. Dancing with the bears. I actually wanted to do some build crafting or some other stuff here on stream. I wanted to show some other things. I don't even know what they are dancing. Reporting to the Twitch police. Exactly. Exactly. Not good. Not good. Boon heal. Let's do that. Let's do boon heal. Let's do that. What do we want to do? Alacrity heal. We're playing Alacrity Celestial Paragon. I think that sounds like a good thing to do on stream. Sounds good. Sounds good. So you can always join my squad. So I'm just joining regular pack groups. They don't even have any KP requirements. So if you want to join, always just join in. And I guess we will do some. It's a weird inventory for me. Normally it's always like this size. So way better. Yeah. I just play Ixblue Saga 5 now, and then we will do some build crafting after that. I have some Soul Beast build that I want to theory craft with the new relic specifically. So let's see if that works. I'm so sad about the new relic. I think I have not seen it yet, but I think they have not fixed the new Galdra relic. So the new relic is so fun, has so high damage output in certain builds, but this relic is not fixed, I think. I'm pretty sure it's still bugged, or I don't know if it's intended, but it's definitely not working as it's written here. So certain elite skills don't proc it in the first place, and some elite skills that do proc it only proc it at a range of like 600 maximum. So this is a bugged relic. It is not correct what is written here. And I hope they fix it, because I really have some builds that can make use out of this like crazy. So hopefully they fix it and you can actually use it then in PvE at least. It seems like a really fun relic. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. The range is bugged, and I think this, I'm pretty sure that it's also not proccing with every elite skill. Because it says here, when you use an elite skill, of course, you launch the projectile. But it doesn't say you have to hit with the elite skill. But certain elite skills that don't deal damage, like for example Female Wrath and Guardian, does not like proc that at all. Which is, in my opinion, just like, then say when you hit with an elite skill or something like that. But when it says when you use an elite skill, for me that means that you can equip a engineer kit, which it procs off, but Female Wrath it doesn't proc off. So I think it just needs to be fixed, in my opinion. Yeah, it's a really cool relic, but it's just not working as intended at all. Like even the attacks that do proc it, not really use like 1200 range seems huge, but it's not the case. It's like 600 maximum. So it's like, it's just not correct what is written there. So I really hope they just change the numbers, or at least tell us, tell us this is intended to only be used on attacking attacks or whatever. But I really hope they fix this. I really hope. What we will see. We will see. So now we're playing some Alacrity heal. Alacrity heal Celestial DPS Paragon. Really fun build. Really fun build. My content guide has also been bugged for a week. The compass that points you to events. Really, what does it do? I mean, it's sometimes they have so weird bugs that they just have not fixed yet. I really hope they change some of the stuff around that is like causing the bugs. I really don't know what the issue is. Why they? Maybe it's some deeper underlying. Am I back? I don't know. Is it working again? Hopefully the stream is still up. Oh my god. Is it? Am I back? Nice, I'm back. That's good. That's so good. I was like fearing, you know, my German internet, you know, just suddenly drops. Oh my god. Did I get it? No. Did I get it? I don't think I did get it. That's fine. That's fine. At least I could make it back in time for the stream to not DC. That's good. Like, this is like, oh, I'm so sorry. Happens sometimes, you know, in the last like 2 weeks, it happened to me like actually like multiple times that just randomly for like a minute, the internet is just gone, just completely gone. And this is obviously not a big deal if I just play some random Guild Wars 2. But if I stream or if I upload a video, that can be really annoying. So glad that I made it back. Exactly, yeah. Yeah, very good. You made it. It's good. It's good that actually I was really concerned that the stream actually completely drops, but it's fine. I could fix, or it fixed itself rather. Very good, very good. Sadly, I wanted to get the kill. Either way, it's fine. It's just Shiver Peaks. Yeah. Let's see. I guess they had almost the whole fight alacrity up. That's okay. That's okay, you know. Happens. Yeah. Yeah, there are some server issues as well. You know, there are some server issues sometimes as well. I noticed that for sure, that we had just some random like disconnects in certain situations. That is definitely a bit annoying. But it's fine. So we are playing here, if you're wondering, Celestial Heal Paragon. So we are still playing an alacrity DPS. Or alacrity heal rather, but we are also, and that's the important part, dealing some damage. We're not like crazy DPS, but you can see it's actually, it's okay, it's okay. And the boon output is still the same. You still have the same stability and stuff. The only difference is that your healing is slightly lower, like slightly. But that does not really matter in a lot of cases because we are just playing normal, like old strike missions. They are so easy that in a lot of cases you can just like play. You don't even need a full healer here, I have to be honest. You could just play like anything and it works quite well. You will see it, Bone Skinner, how much healing I can push out. Hopefully we don't have issues there, but that's the only one where it really matters. It's probably a bug of the Guild Wars 3 preview you downloaded. I mean, I would love to have that downloaded, but yeah, I don't. And even if I had, I sadly wouldn't be able to tell you, but I hope we will get some news about it in the future. And hopefully we'll also get some previews at some point. My big hope here, yeah. Yeah. Is Ghostly Infusion the cheapest? +5, +9 infusion? I don't know the exact prices by heart, but I'm pretty sure it's actually polyluminescent. And there are some polyluminescent infusions that are like below 70 gold. Let's check. Ghostly. Yeah, I think the depending on what kind of stats you need, then the polyluminescence infusions can be cheaper. Can be cheaper though. But not, it depends on the stat. It depends on the stat. Yeah. Yeah, but I would personally say infusions, if you can afford them, they are always expensive. Like there is not a single infusion, like stat infusion that is like below 50 gold. Like you can get them one from Fractals, which is the most effective way to get them, at least for players that play Fractals, obviously. So if you play a lot of Fractals, specifically tier 4 or challenge modes Fractals, this is the most important part. If you play those Fractals, you will get those integrated fractal matrix, I think it's called, and those give you essentially every like couple of runs that you do, you get to purchase a somewhat on sale infusion with stats. That is, in my opinion, the most efficient way to play to get infusions, but you need to play challenge mode Fractals, and I mean like a lot of them to get a full character geared up. But I think that's one of the reasons why I think Fractal challenge modes are actually pretty underrated, because they actually have a decent chunk of like value attached if you go for full infusion and stuff like that. How do we lose this guy all the time? It's actually impressive. It's my bad healing apparently. Yeah. What's the name of the new infusion? It's called Seer's Transcendence, I think. Mode of Seer's Transcendence. Yeah, I think that's the name of the new infusion. Pretty expensive one though. Pretty expensive. Got my Necromancer in full Viper. To branch out, would you recommend Celestial for Scourge, Elect DPS, a bit heal, or Trailblazer for more well-rounded in World versus World? I would say probably Celestial, because Celestial is really good in like PvE as a like support Scourge and stuff like that. And Celestial is also pretty decent as a support in World vs. World and Zergs. I would not recommend Trailblazer in a lot of cases. Trailblazer can be good on Necromancer as a roaming build, but I think it's not like the best. I think like Necromancer shines the most in roaming if you play like full Celestial Harbinger, for example, or if you play full like Demolisher or something like that, Reaper, Harbinger, and Ritualist. I would not go as far as with Trailblazer. I think Trailblazer is a bit of overkill and not really like recommended. Yeah, that is my opinion. I would go with Celestial. Yeah, if you asked for that one. Yeah. Do you think the raid will allow us to buy it? I doubt it. I think the new raid, I think it's pretty unlikely that the new raid encounter will have some crazy reward changes. I think there will probably be some attachment from the new raid that you can get some currency, some loot that you need for crafting the legendary weapon that comes up in the next patch. But I would be highly surprised if you get more infusion access or something like that you then can sell. I don't think that will be the case. I would be very, very surprised. Yeah. Yeah, you can the infusion itself you can only disable by like not using it anymore, by just unequipping it, or can you disable it with like there is some setting in the Guild Wars 2 settings. I'm not sure if it affects your own character though. There is a setting that can disable infusions from allies. I'm not sure though if it can also disable infusions from your own character. Maybe someone in chat knows. I'm just played the game for over a decade and have no clue about that because I'm just, I'm not into fashion. That's the main thing here. It's 10 gold, 30 Ectos, and 1 Fractaline Spark, and the cheapest one is the cheapest +5, +9. Yeah, but you have to play a lot of Fractal Quick Play for that. One Fractaline Spark, how much is that? Like 100 Quick Plays if you do it without all the achievements? That's a lot. It's the cheapest, yes, but how much time did you spend on that? I think the Fractal CMs one is probably the best overall if you play a lot of Fractal challenge modes. That's my opinion there. Shine bright like a diamond? Exactly. That's I would say the motto of like almost every Guild Wars 2 player. Yeah. Shine bright, yeah. Like if you look at the Mistlock Observatory and just randomly look at different characters that's standing around, like half of them have like insane amount of like infusion like equipped and just like chuck infusion, confetti infusion and whatever, and let's just bright like a flashbang. I'm not into fashion, but that's not how I would like to have my characters. I'm like, even if I had all of those infusions, I would probably not equip them on the same character all the time. But I guess everyone to each their own, yeah. 1 to 2 hours per Fractaline Spark. I already did 16. Yeah, I mean, but let's say you need 1 hour, and you get like essentially the infusion that you would normally buy for 60 gold. For 10 gold, that means that you get 50 gold per hour farming Fractal Quick Play. If you do it really in 1 hour, I think that's okay. That's a good value, but to be honest, I would rather do something that is like very fun to me. And if that's like Fractal Challenge modes, they give you more gold and you get at the end of some week or something, you get 1 infusion for free. I don't know. I think that's more recommended. But again, everyone should to each their own. Yeah, to each their own. My wife got the 98 CM infusion and never realized. We noticed it because we were comparing KP. And she somehow had more, even though I played more CMs. Yeah, those infusion drops are really rare. I think I got like 1 of the challenge mode infusions, like once. One of the not sellable ones. Yeah. It's nice to get them, but that's pretty much it. Like, I would say Infusions is nice for the stats and stuff, but if you don't play Fractals, you can always just equip... Do I have it here? Probably not. But you can always just equip the... How is it called? The World vs. World Infusions. Yeah, the World vs. World Infusions are also stats. Oh my god, can we get the banner? Ooh! Last second banner. Ooh, that was way too close to comfort, I have to be honest. We both used, you know, we are playing 2 support warriors. We both used the banner at the exact same time. Classic. Now we don't have it for the next 60 seconds. Oh no. Oh no, no, no. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of Fractal Quick Play. I play it like if I really like want to get this infusion skins, but I would typically not. I would rather play like challenge modes or something like that that has a bit of more like it's not like the boss falls over when you look at it. I think it's like I don't know. Maybe I'm a bit too try hard there in the mindset, but I think Fractal Quick Play is for beginners. It's awesome, but for veterans to farm it for gold or infusions, which is effectively gold farming, yeah, I don't know. It's not my type of gem. Ooh, we're losing people. Why is this guy standing so far back? Yeah, looks good, you see. I mean, we don't care about like being celestial or not. Doesn't really matter. We just hopefully heal through everything here. Okay, I just randomly getting hit here. Okay. Quickstray is really fun for me, more than searching half of the day for a tier 4 Fractal group. I mean, that's fine. You know, like I said, everyone should play what they find fun. And if it's quick play for you, sure, go for it. Just saying, personally, I'm not the biggest, like... I think raid quick play is worse than Fractal quick play, but I think both of them for veterans to farm for gold, that would be too boring for me. Ooh, we have a big banner coming in. Oh my god. I was slower than the other one. No. That's okay. That's okay. We did get it. We did get it. I'm good, Yusuf. Hopefully you're also fine. That's good. That's good. Let's do some Dragonstorm and let's do some build crafting after. What's the effect of the poly infusions? It's essentially making your character looking like, depending on what color you have, different, gives you just a color on top of that. It's a bit annoying, I have to admit. It's not something that I would want to have on every character. So for example, if you have the green one, it gives you like a greenish like skin tone. Or like also armor tone. It's not my favorite, but it's okay. If you really want to get the most amount of stats and the cheapest way, that's probably it. Or if you want to get like just the stats and not the agony, you always can use the World vs. World infusions. Who's your favorite Guild Wars 2 YouTuber? That's tough. That's really tough because I watch a lot of different channels and I don't really have a favorite one. I think like if Teapot does a video like this Guild Wars 3 video that he did last week, where he has heavily scripted like content and like really well researched and stuff like that, I think he does the best videos. Yeah, I think it's extremely well done. But he said he doesn't do that often anymore, so it's like a bit unfair to say he's my favorite Guild Wars 2 YouTuber, because if you do one of those videos per year, that's not really like living up to being a big YouTuber in that case. I don't know, there are so many others that I like, but I wouldn't really say they are my favorites. Favorite always implies you dislike others less or more, you know, you dislike something. I don't really do that. I think there are good ones that cover like news, there are good ones that cover build guides, there are good ones that cover like just achievements. I think it always depends what you're looking for. Guild Wars 2 is not a game that has really good like entertainment YouTubers, as far as I would say. Like, sadly, it's a bit sad we don't have. Maybe that comes with Guild Wars 3, that we have some challenges, some YouTuber like just fun actions. But yeah, I don't know. I would not really pick one out, to be honest. Yeah. Do you think ArenaNet devs could improve with the recent focus on quality of life update? Improvement on Guild Wars 2, for example, make polls on what the community would like to see changed. I think there was a time where ArenaNet was really transparent on what they were working on, but they were never as transparent as, for example, I think RuneScape does that. Old school RuneScape. I think they do have some, how is it called, like polls or surveys where they ask players to what they want to have next. At least I think that's what they did in the past. And it works really well there. The problem is I'm not sure if it would work really well in Guild Wars 2 as well, because that's like saying something works extremely well for me, and that means that just because it works very well for me, as for example as a Guild Wars 2 YouTuber, and I do a certain thumbnail that works perfectly, everyone clicks on it, and then someone that does like, I don't know, sports uses exactly the same thumbnail, it has to work as well. I think like for OSRS you have a really nice community that is really like attached to the game and stuff like that. And that is not really, at least as far as I can see, is not as split as the Guild Wars community. I think the Guild Wars community, if you would ask what game mode the developers should put more gold in, then you would get probably from 10 people, you would probably get 11 different answers. Yeah, I think it's really hard to listen to players because every player has their own agenda in Guild Wars 2, and I'm not even sure which one is the correct one to listen to, because I think everyone has their own reason to say something like that. So I would say it's not that they are faulty in what they are saying, it's just they have a different perspective. I think that would be really hard to just listen to a survey in a vacuum. I think ArenaNet would be pretty challenged by that. That's why they don't do it, probably, I would guess. Welcome, chat. Welcome, welcome. I just finished Iceblood Saga. What was that? I mean, good question. I mean, we had even big YouTube content creators essentially quitting the game because of the ending of Iceblood Saga. So yeah, it's not everybody's favorite, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I think the problem is that, you know, different player bases for different games are completely, like, you cannot say just because it works in OSRS that well, it works in Guild Wars 2 as well. I think they should try it to see how it works, maybe in a small situation, something that is like not like the full game. So maybe they make a survey on raid rewards or something, and it's only about raid players, yeah? And I think then it would work better than if you would just ask the whole community about a topic that concerns the whole community. I think Guild Wars 2 is a very big game, and it's also very, I don't know, is a game that is, the player base is quite split, and some of the players are really, really passionate about certain parts of the game. And to say the least, some of those players are somewhat aggressively towards other game modes, yeah? And you cannot please everybody if you do surveys like this. And you can see, just look at the forums, how aggressive some of the players defend certain takes, even though, yeah, I don't want to go too deep here, but certain takes are not reasonable, yeah, to say the least. That's just how it is, you know, online and a lot of different opinions. Yeah, there will always be some uproar. And I think Guild Wars 2, in the forums, you can definitely see some issues there. And that's why they probably are quite scared to actually do a lot of like community questioning and stuff like that. Yeah, I personally think it would be nice to give it a try. Yeah, giving it a try is probably okay, but you have to be careful how to implement it. You really do. Yeah. If you can only have one class, which one would you take for all game modes? I would probably take Mesmer, because I like the class and it's very flexible. But I would say most people would probably say it's Guardian for them. Yeah. If you asked like veterans, they would probably say it's Guardian or Mesmer. Yeah. Typically those two. Because they are just really flexible and work very well in almost all situations. Yeah. Engineer is like, I don't want to be mean to any other class. I think every class can be extremely flexible in all game modes. The important part that I want to mention here, why I mention specifically Guardian and Mesmer all the time as the most flexible in all classes, is that they are extremely high level in those classes, in those game modes as well. If you like just want to have the option to play certain classes in all game modes, then any class works very well. Like just having the option, you can play Holosmith in PvP, you can play Holosmith in Zergs, you can play Holosmith in PvE. Perfectly covered. I think it's just about the flexibility that Guardian and Mesmer have, why I think they are so good. That's more like it. Yeah. Not saying the other classes are not flexible, I'm just saying they are even better, Guardian and Mesmer. Yeah. And I think they are also like getting pretty heavily encouraged or like buffed by ArenaNet all the time. There has never been a time since like Troubadour came out, or like even since Chronomancer came out, that Chronomancer was a bad pick, like in PvE at least. Like this is the crazy part. Like ArenaNet is really, or Guardian for example, there has never been a time that Guardian was not on top of the charts in PvE. It's just they are just really fan favorite classes, and ArenaNet knows this, and so they never nerf it too much. Yeah, I would guess. How good out of 10 would you give Scepter on Guardian as a weapon in general? I would say it probably gets like a 5. I think it's a decent weapon, but it's power crept, or so to say out power crept by other weapons like crazy. Scepter is like okay, it has a decent weapon set. It's just like, tell me one build that actually really likes to run a Scepter. Like they not like Longbow is the better power-based option, and Pistol is the better condition-based option. So why would you pick a Scepter? Like, I don't know. It's just my opinion there. I think Scepter needs maybe some kind of small rework to be more interesting. Yeah. But it's also community bias. Good point. Welcome, Aleka. Welcome. How are you doing today? Are dual swords good for different Necromancer specs? I think dual swords work very well on Reaper, and in competitive modes on Harbinger. In competitive modes, dual swords is good on all Necromancer builds if you need mobility and stuff like that. If you play in PvE, I think dual swords is mostly useful on Reaper, Power Reaper that is, because the main hand sword attack is not really good. Like, it does not deal that much damage. So you want to have some Shroud that does a lot of damage. So it's not Scourge, and it's not really on Richlist. Richlist is okay, but it's like powers, like sword main hand on Necromancer is not the best of like weapon. Yeah, it's like dagger is better, greatsword is better, spear is better with the auto attacks. So you just typically use it if you need range, and you don't always need range. So it's just a situational niche pick for the most part. I like it because of the utility, but it's not the best DPS option. Yeah. I totally forgot Scepter even exists on Guardian because nobody ever uses it. Yeah, it's crazy. It really needs some changes, I would say. It's not it's not even a bad weapon by design. You can make it use, but it's like every other weapon that is like ranged has a use case which is slightly more like suited to what you want to do typically. Yeah, I guess that's just how it is, you know. Not every weapon can be really good in every situation. That's just how it is, you know. You cannot say like you have 10 different weapon choices and every single one of those has a really good use case. That's just, at some point you have too many weapons to actually make really good use for all of them. It's just, you cannot do it. At least that's my realistic view on balancing weapons. Yeah. It's kind of only used in Gluttony on 100. Yeah, exactly. It's a very niche thing. It's actually, the funny part is you don't even use it that much in competitive modes anymore, because Scepter was really good back in the day because of its like immobilize and the AoE attack. But nowadays, Guardian is not really like that much of a long range damage dealer in the first place. So it's more like you use Staff or Longbow and maybe Pistol if you really wanted to play a Condi build. But like Scepter is in this weird spot where you just, why do you use it? It's really just in 100 CM you use it because it has the short cooldown symbol and fast hitting attack. That's pretty much it. Yeah, you just want to hit as often as possible, and that's why Scepter works well there. But you don't even need to use it, you know? You can play a Pistol with a sword or something. Or pistol or X, you don't need to run the Scepters. You can also replace it there. It's not like a must use, but it's, yeah, it's Scepter in a nutshell, I guess. I like Power Reaper with Greatsword and Dual Swords. Yeah, I think it's really fun. That's also my preferred way of playing Power Reaper. Like having some ranged option and having a big, like, damaging melee head, like Greatsword is just really fitting. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. If you don't look for min-maxing, then just use Scepter and have fun with it, sure. But I think the problem is like if a weapon is just straight up it's not even that interesting. I have to be honest, you know. I like to use a weapon that is interesting. For example, like Sword on Necromancer is interesting because you get a dash. But the Scepter on Guardian is essentially like, what does it do? It does nothing other than the symbol. It's really like, it's a bit boring and not really that good. That's not a good combination, I would say. Yeah. Can I get a guild invite? Sure, sure. So, oops. There we go. Do they ever revisit old content and change story stuff to make it better? Like, story, they never change story stuff, I would say. I did not see that one yet. When it comes to like old content, like raids and stuff, they sometimes, or dungeons or fractals, they sometimes go back and change some stuff, but it's very unlikely. So I would say old content in Guild Wars 2 is still perfectly playable, and they maybe, if you're lucky, fix some bugs, but big changes, mechanical changes, number changes, not that often, not that likely. Arena is really thin in resources right now, and they typically want to focus on new stuff and fixing the new stuff, but not fixing 10-year-old stuff. Yeah, sadly. Would Guild Wars 2 would have been better with fixed weapons per spec and dedicated skill trees per elite spec? Hard to say, you know, this would have question is, in my opinion, always somewhat challenging to answer, because it always requires you to, like, see all the possibilities, and I'm a human, I cannot see all the possibilities there. But I personally would say it gives the classes more identity if you have somewhat more fixed weapons. I would not go as far and say you can only use one single weapon. I think it's personally, I think the decision, for example, to give the Chronomancer shield to a Mirage is not a good one in terms of build crafting and theory crafting. But they did, so we cannot go back, and that's how it is. We just have to accept it. I don't know, we can talk about and speculate, maybe if they will do that in Guild Wars 3 or not, whatever they do. More rigid stuff, maybe more flexible, who knows, but either way, I think it's probably pretty, like, just theoretical. You will have to see, they are the developers. I don't see that it will ever change, to be honest. So, I wanted to go for a Ritualist Soul Beast with the new relic. That's the main thing that I wanted to theory craft here around. The short bow and a dagger and a torch. Yeah. I started my story with an old character parking just to experience the old content. I mean, will probably be interesting. I'm not sure if it's the most fun thing, because it's some of the old story is pretty outdated, I would say. Yeah. Shared skill trees also allow for collateral damage. I guess that would be interesting, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure. Like, I think Guild Wars 2 is too old to change something as drastic as that, but maybe in the, like I said, the future game. Maybe, who knows? Yeah. Would be fun. Like, Power Trooper do a shared skill tree. Yeah, definitely a cool idea, for sure, for sure. I hope you don't mind me complaining here. Maybe it's old, new for everyone, but the last chapter of Iceblood Saga just ruined my weekend. Yeah, it's completely fine, you know. That is like the feeling that almost everybody that experiences it and is somewhat into the story gets a bit, like, I would say quite a bit turned down by seeing this, like, last chapter. Yeah, the last chapter of Iceblood Saga is definitely not one of the highlights of Guild Wars 2 story. Yeah, to say the least. Yeah, it is definitely lacking. So what do we want? I guess we need that. And we want a lot of quickness and stuff. We want more boons. We see. They want to nerf Chronomancer and Jupiter gets hit. Yeah, that is true. That is an issue that happens a lot. Like, the most recent example of that is that they nerfed Embrace the Darkness, which is the lead skill of Revenant if you run Malex, so the condition-based legend. And they hit that pretty hard. It's like almost half the damage. And that skill is used on every single condition build. So if you're running a condition Revenant, then you run Malex. That means that you hit with this nerf Renegade, you hit like Herald, which is caught somewhat in the crossfire, and you hit Conduit. And I think that is an issue with the design, but happens all the time. You cannot nerf something all the time without hitting something else if you don't always focus on the lead spec trade line. But that is also a bit unhealthy if you only change stuff in the lead spec trade line. I don't know. Really hard. I don't want to be in their shoes. Yeah. Are there any more mobile specs than Daredevil? No, if you want the absolute craziest mobility, then Devil is the most mobile spec, yeah. If you run short bow and all the teleports, yeah. And sword, for example, is the fastest for sure. Like to see infusions be added to their own wardrobe? Yeah, absolutely. I made a whole video about it like a year ago or something, where I really wished that this would be added in the quality of life updates, but they have never done so. Maybe at some point, but for now, not happening. Legendary infusions would be so good, yeah. Maybe in the next expansion, if there's one, that would be a good selling point, I would say, yeah. Condi Conduit is like the reason they nerfed it, and I'm really like, I'm happy that they nerfed Condi Conduit down, but it's sad that they nerfed Condi Conduit via stuff that affects all the other Condi Revenant builds as well. And now Condi Herald is essentially like a dead build. You don't play that in PvE ever, which is, in my opinion, just sad, yeah. Okay, so I want to theory craft a solo build for Ranger that is based on condition damage, so that we get the most value out of a Cruel Overseer relic, which essentially gives me a 4 to 5% lifesteal from conditions. So we go full, like, condition damage, expertise, some vitality and concentration to top of our boon duration, stuff like that. And that's the idea. So let's see what we can make work here. I guess we want that. We can also increase the stance duration, but is that really like a good thing? Yeah, we could with the poison stance, I guess. Not sure. Let's go for the poison stance, and then we need probably to survive. We are covered with the relic, so I guess we go for Poison Master because it gives me 25% more damage on poison. And then Ambidexterity for more damage, and then I guess we can just use the Arachnophobia trait just for my expertise, I guess. Get some healing from dodging and some protection uptime. I really like this setup. Then some more bleeding from crit hit. I mean, we don't crit that often. That's the sad part if you're running Ritualist, because you essentially have 25% crit rate if you're Fury up, or 30%. Which I don't even know if we have, but Fury is, yeah, I guess we have when we swap weapons. And then yeah, bleeding is more dangerous, I guess. Yeah, 20% more bleeding damage. Sounds good. Let's see. I mean, the might generation might be a bit like bad, to be honest. We definitely have to put on Strength Sigil because we have no might generation other than the Strength Sigil here. Just like thinking out aloud and theory crafting some solo build here for Ranger Solby specifically on the fly somewhat. Yeah, let's see. Okay. Yeah, we have... I think the damage is probably decent with this setup. I think we need maybe we need the might food actually. We could, but the might food is only on crit. So maybe we have to run Celestial. Sorry. Hard to say. I'm not a fan of Cruel Overseer. Zacchaeus feels way stronger. Yeah. Zacchaeus is like, I wouldn't agree necessarily that it's better on Viper or Celestial builds, but the Cruel Overseer relic, I tried it on some builds off stream, and it actually works very well in like a full Viper setup in PvE. Yeah, when you need some kind of healing for a Condi build in a group. Yeah, but if you use it in a solo build, it is actually not as good as I predicted it. Like it really has some usability issues. You know, Zacchaeus is just straight up easier to upkeep and easier to use in a lot of cases. That is just a little bit sad. What pets do we want to use for Condi build? Probably the Iboga, because it does some nice Condi damage, and Don't even have all the pets on this ranger. Okay. Probably. Hard to say what is. Maybe some kind of CC pet. Or we can get a utility pet. I guess we can run the turtle for insane utility because it gives you the bubble and nice protection and stuff. I guess that's a good utility pet. And the damage pet is the Iboga, I guess. I guess that's... I mean, what is the Iboga? Yeah, the Iboga skills are pretty solid in the form. Yeah, makes sense, makes sense. Yeah. new stream title? Yeah, exactly, exactly. I like it, I like it. Yeah, exactly. I think it's a bit weird that they made this relic. It's not only complicated to understand for a new player, but it's also the complication or the complexity of the relic makes it not very user-friendly, that it needs to ramp up and then it has some kind of downtime as well. It's just really weird. Like, it's really weird. I guess it makes sense they didn't want to have a power-based relic that is the Sakiros healing relic, which needs you to hit to get the healing, be exactly the same as the damage relic or the damage conversion relic that you have with Cruel Overseer relic, which does not require you to hit because you can hit your condis, then you run away from something and you still heal because of the ticking conditions. So I think that's maybe a reason why they want to make it a bit different. I don't know. It's just, I'm not completely convinced. Not convinced, not convinced. What do you think is the least liked NPC? It might be Braham or Taimi, one of those two, I would say. Which weapon fits the most builds? Spear or sword, I would say. Spear or sword, because all characters can use it. The problem, I tried it with Guardian as well, but on Guardian you have a similar issue that oftentimes if you run a Guardian build, you can just play like any DPS relic and deal more damage and then use your healing skill, which is like the meditation that converts all your damage into healing. It's just straight up better than wasting a relic slot, so to say, on something that is not even as good as Sakiros relic. I think I will try to make it work here, but it only works on certain niche builds, I would say. Like, it is not as good as I hoped it will be. So let's see if we can get some damage here. But I feel like we are really missing some boons. We are missing some boons here. I mean, the damage is actually surprisingly good for that my might is extremely bad. Like, extremely bad. I really would like to have more might. Where do I get more might? Yeah, the damage is actually not even that bad that we don't have. We essentially have almost no might at all in this setup here, and the vulnerability is instantly stacked to 25. So that's already something, I guess. But you definitely like miss the might. Yeah, might is the main problem here. I guess if you have the might covered, you will probably have even like very high damage, like 20k DPS, I guess, for solo build with a lot of sustain here. No, it does not have any visual effects. It's essentially just giving you the Kuda's cruelty. Like, it's just this one icon that shows up. That's pretty much it. Pretty much it. So we could go for the Griffin stance. I don't know. Is that enough? Would you drop something for that? We have the Vulture stance. But it only gives you when you evade. Nah, that's not good. Not good enough. We could go for Sun Spirit, which also does some damage. But then you would lose the quickness access here. I don't know. It's actually pretty tough to come up with some good thing here. Guess you could also drop... How is the cooldown of that? Like 16 seconds. You could go for... How much quickness uptime? We didn't have fully quickness uptime. So I guess you could drop the Frailty Sigil here. And go for a Celerity Sigil. Tough. Sun Spirit, yeah. Sun Spirit would be good, but what would you drop for it, you know? I think the Vulture stance is pretty good. It gives you a lot of might. Then you have this Quickening Sapphire, which gives you really nice like stun break and almost like half of the time like quickness uptime covered. And then you have Sharpening Stone, which gives you a decent amount of bleeding, like a lot of bleeding. Essentially, this is like a skill that gives you baseline like 2.5k DPS. it's really tough. Like Ranger is pretty hard to. Like I guess you could go with the heal as one and like you get doubling your boons, but then you would use your healing skill in the rotation, which is also a little bit weird. I guess celerity here is pretty good, and then you can maybe go. I mean, you could go Warhorn offhand, which is okay. It's obviously not great, but it would give you some might as well. Or you just go the route and say, no, let's not go. Let's maybe go Celestial. You know, if we go full Celestial, and then say we have actually some crit chance as well and some other damage in the kit, then we can probably use the food that gives me, might, and then we are good. You know, the food that gives you might on like attacking and getting a crit chance, it could be good enough. So tough. It's actually really tough. Like this is what I always do off stream, you know, theory crafting and like coming up with some cool builds takes a while. Yeah. Okay, so Timey is ranked 16. That's crazy. Of most liked. That's insane. And Braham 47 out of 125. Minister Marula rank 125. I don't even know who that is. I mean, I guess I'm not into the story, but it's okay. Thanks for sharing, Aika. It's always fun to hear those interesting facts. Jungle Stalker might give might, but again, you would have to swap out of the pet, and I think this pet is just really good here. We could use this trait, but then we lose 10% damage. It's really tough. It is really, really tough. I don't know, there isn't that much like options. I mean, let's try it like this. We have now the other food and Celestial setup. It's boring, it's again full Celestial setup, but what can you do? I have not played Elden Ring. Would you recommend it? That's the important part. Would you recommend it? Because I like always like I would like to try other games as well at some point. Sure, yeah. Council of Land. Yeah, this is an annoying guy. This one I actually know. Yeah, yeah. Minister Marula is a noble with a great affection for Lord Farron. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, interesting choice, I would say. Interesting choice for sure. Okay, so let's try this one more time, and let's see. So, not really covering a rotation here directly, and just to see. I mean, the might is definitely, you can see the might is already like insanely kept. So that is already like very good. And the quickness is also covered, I think. We are fully covered with the quickness. I just try to upkeep my light on your feet buff. The might is actually not fully covered, but it's good enough. And the damage is now higher. You can see the damage is definitely higher. Yeah, I mean, you could use the healing skill to like cap like good, decently well. And don't forget, you get like on dodge, you get like protection. But the damage is not as high as I hoped it would. Like the damage is definitely, it could be higher. I mean, it's like, this is Celestial setup. Is there a different trait line that is better? Probably not. What would you have? Marksmanship? No. Nature magic? Beast mastery? Nah. I mean, is there something in beast mastery that helps you? No. Gain might and fury when you disable a foe. Cast lesser quickening sapphire when you swap pets? Nah. I don't know. I think this is pretty much the only way to do it. Yeah, with a Condi based build. I don't know. This is like already decent. Don't get me wrong. Like 17.5k DPS in a solo situation and also having like a decent amount of sustain. Like it's pretty okay, but it could be better. It could be better. Out of all the open world games I played, Elden Ring reminded me the most of Guild Wars 2. The build variety is pretty wide. Nice. I mean, maybe I need to give it a try then. Yeah, I heard a lot of good things about it already. Where do you get the damage add-on? That's arc DPS. I have a full like 30-minute deep dive how to set it up. You can like, I think it's it's !arc DPS and you will get a link to it, how it works. Yes. You can, there's also a Blishard add-on, and this one here in the bottom, this is in-game. This is the in-game like golem area setup thing. That is the only thing that you can test your DPS in-game. Yeah. Nice, someone dropped the invisible boots. That's good. Those are really rare, and I would really like to have them just for collecting all the skins, but it's just too expensive for me. I don't care that much about feet, so sadly, not yet there. Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Alka. Thanks. Should work, I think. Should work. I'll give you the link. Yeah. Did it work? Did it not work? Maybe it didn't work. I don't know. Give me a second. I will send you the link nonetheless. Not sus. Yeah, I had to. When I said it about the invisible boots, I had to make sure that it's not. You know, I'm not a feed enjoyer. Okay. I give you the link to the Arc DPS. I don't know. Sometimes the bot is sleeping. Here's the link, and also for the people on YouTube. Give me a second. That's the link for the Arc DPS. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think Arc DPS is a really good tool. Like for most players, if you want to improve, especially in PvE, Arc DPS is a really good tool. You should not use it to flame anybody or something, but if you want to see how much damage you do, you want to see how much boon uptime you have, it's a really good tool. So, I'm still not convinced. I have to be honest. I'm still not convinced. You know, the thing is that let's test it with the healing, you know? But the healing, that's what I meant. The relic is really nice, you know? It's a really, gives you some healing, yeah? But now we will test it here on the golem. And I will test it with the golem and the medium damaging field. And you will probably see that this relic makes me quite defensive. But I could use a different relic and have pretty much the same defenses and have higher damage, because the relic is essentially not really helping me with dealing damage in a lot of cases. It's just giving me some sustain that I can also get from other ways as a ranger. At least that's what I guess. We will see if I can use another relic, but I really wanted to make use out of this new one. Yeah, I don't know. And you see, I cannot even, just with the relic, I cannot even outlast the medium damaging field, which is pretty sus. Pretty sus. You know, if I play a power-based ranger here, in a solo situation with Sakiro's relic, I can easily outlast this. I don't know, I'm not convinced. I'm really not convinced of this relic, even on a Celestial build. Maybe I played it worse, but I don't know, it's not... Yeah, Biomancer or Mist Ranger, they are just they will be better. Especially Bleeding or Poison. Look at this. This is the difference now. We play now Biomancer instead of the Cruel Overseer. It will be better. Almost guaranteed. You know, I'm just pressing buttons of cooldown here. I don't really have a rotation that I follow right now. And look at this. I'm almost at full life all the time. Yeah. Biomancer is definitely better. Even with my fast attacks, I have to be honest, I could even consider Mist Ranger relic as well. Yeah. Yay, of course. Of course, Snowdrop. Problem is it's not always on. You need to keep building stacks and they expire. Yeah, exactly. It's the annoyingness to use it is definitely not as good, you know. I don't know. I think it's I try hard to make this relic work, specifically on Ranger here, but I really have to be honest, I have a Soul Beast build guide that is over a year old, and it's just better than this one, even though it's using new relics. I don't see it being that good. Yeah. Yeah. I would say so, yeah. In World versus World with 10% cruel overseer is still horrible. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like in competitive modes it's even worse because condition builds typically cannot like consistently maintain their damage output like a PvE build would. You know, in PvE you have 20k DPS that consistently ticks and deals damage. In like competitive modes, you just might get cleansed and then like nothing is there anymore. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not saying cruel overseer is generally bad. I'm just saying specifically on this build that I'm trying here, I think it doesn't work. I think it works very well on Chronomancer or Messma in general, but on this build here, not sure. Yeah. Yeah, for Condi Revenant, it could also work quite well, I would say. Yeah, it depends heavily on the class, I guess. But like I said here, focused on like power, like Soul Beast, not power or Condi, just one, and it works not as well. I mean, this is now. Let's go 360 or let's 180 rather, and let's go like we go Berserker and go a power based Soul Beast. Yeah, let's just go power Soul Beast and see how that one works, because I have to be honest, I think like power Soul Beast with like Sakura's Relic is probably superior. Yeah, I think that might be better option. Maybe we put in some commanders pieces if we really wanted to. So what do we use here? Sword, and we use here probably a mace, and for the utility of a Warhound offhand. Maybe. No, let's use, instead of the mace, main hand is not that good. Let's use a main hand axe, I think, for power based damage from range. That makes sense. Let's just go full Berserker. Force Sigil. Do we go Force? Hard to say. Yeah, Force is probably set in stone, and then probably we could go Frailty Sigil to get even more value. Let's do 3/6, like full turn, 180, and see how it goes with full aggressive setup. We want no Carnivore trade, and probably we want Beast Mastery for a lot of Might generation. And I mean, it's actually pretty solid. It's if we go like this, maybe pretty solid here, and then we go probably something like that. Very aggressive setup. And then we go a different pet. Turtle we can leave, but then we go for what is an aggressive power-based pet. Like we could go for the Gazelle, because we have some CC then here. And that gives me some healing, because we have... we only have 2 CC skills actually in the kit if we don't run Mace offhand. Is that good? That's a question. Is there any build that is too hard for you to play so you don't play it? There are a lot of builds that are too hard for me to play it, but I would not necessarily say that I don't play them then. Oftentimes I play builds that are too hard for me, and I try them, and I will try to get better at them, but I will at some point give up and not reach the benchmark number. And I think that is not a problem. I try to just always find new builds that work. For example, Condition Quickness Scrapper is a good example. I will never be able to pull that build off, so I will not like put too much effort in. Yeah. Really, nah, I mean, I don't want to play Condi and play Sakiros at the same time. That's bad practice, you know. I don't want to, even if it's better healing, I want to actually make a build that works, that like the relic synergy is there. I don't want to run like a Condi build with a Sakiros relic. That's, I don't know, that seems wrong. It seems very wrong. Yeah, that's true. Maybe on the last map there will be a pet parrot. That would be really fun. Like a parrot, like that just like maybe talks a bit more. That would be such a, like everyone would want to use this pet. I play Viva and Firebrand as well, yeah. I played a lot of Firebrand, like when Path of Fire came out. It was actually considered my main back then. And I even played it in PvP a lot. And Viva, I really like to play in competitive modes, especially Fire Viva. It's just not the meta for it. It really isn't. I don't know. We don't have enough CC if it go like this to upkeep our... I guess we have 1. We have like 3 CC skills. I'm not sure if that's enough. What other weapons could we use? Like, could use a great sword which has 1, or main hand. Main hand mace is okay, but the damage output is pretty low. Let's try it like this. Let's try it like this. So let's see how it goes. Let's see how it goes. You see that the healing output is already like, the damage is higher. The healing output is obviously not as consistent because you are really reliant on landing your CC skills. Yeah, I guess it's also lower, the healing, but it's still... No, it's actually worse. I don't want to like oversell it. I think the burst is good, but the overall sustain is actually not as good. I don't know. Soul Beast is just hard to come up with a new build that is actually like somewhat good. Sword plus sick M is surprisingly high. Yeah, there's a sword and just like, I guess you could like, I mean, Sakura's Relic is just, if you just rely on Sakura's Relic for healing the most and just go very aggressive, like just full aggressive trades, it's probably the best option that you can go for in a lot of cases. I guess that would, because you have so many trades here that are condi based on not give you that much value. Marksmanship. And I guess some might generation, I guess. Yeah, I mean, or you could go skirmishing and go like for just perfect with fury and stuff. That's just such a good trade line. You will want to run that anytime. I guess it's just that's what you run, and then you have with fury probably like you have 90% crit rate, and then you have this 10% when you strike a defiant foe, and then you're at 100. So that's perfect. I don't know, just better. Mace, and hammer. But would that work well on a Soul Beast? Because on a Soul Beast, the problem with hammer is that you don't have access to the ambush, which is really good on a Untamed, but on a Soul Beast, let's try this once more, and then we try different weapons. Let's get some CC set up. Because I feel like you can actually make decent... Look, the burst is pretty solid. The problem is more like that your long-term sustain is pretty lackluster. I mean, I guess I could dodge, of course, to get some protection and some healing. Sure. Would be in a real fight also the case. But Untamed just has way more CC. Yeah, the damage is just too low after the burst. Yeah, I don't know. I think like the way is probably Celestial with like Biomancer Relic or something, which is pretty much the old setup. It's not exciting. I thought like Cruel Overseer Relic, Ritualist setup, something new would work, but I'm always like, I tried a Firebrand build with it. It does not work as well. Like it is really like some of the old builds are just straight up better, and it's a bit sad. You could go Vipers, but the problem is if you go Vipers, you have no boon duration, and then you have to think about where do you get the boons from, yeah? And if you run like a Viper setup, where do you get your might from, and how do you upkeep your quickness? And that's the big issue there. Like you can just easily run a Pirate Queen Relic on, and then you have the quickness covered, and it's good. But the problem is, if you don't have any like defensive stats, you need some really big heals, and you don't have big heals. Like, I don't know, it's really tough actually. If your class relies on bleeding and poison, the Biomancer will be better, but if you play Celestial Windman that relies on burning, the Overseer will be better. Yeah, exactly. And that's good relic design. That is good relic design. I think just the Overseer Relic compared to Sakura's Relic is pretty much always worse. Like Sakura's Relic, especially in competitive modes, is so much better. Like it's not even funny. Yeah. Yeah, I guess you can run some Trailblazer pieces in there as well. Yeah, I think it works way better on Untamed. Untamed is like, if you play Untamed, you can, like, Untamed is just a solo king, you know? If you play Ranger and you want to have a really good solo build, then you go Untamed. You would not think about going a Soul Beast, because Soul Beast is worse in terms of power damage, it's worse in terms of sustain, it's worse in terms of condi damage as well. I don't know, what do you pick a Soul Beast for other than the class fantasy? Not saying it's bad, I'm just saying Untamed is so good that most players that play Ranger would just say, I just play Untamed, you know? Yeah. Exactly, like if you play solo and don't play Untamed, what are you doing? Yeah. Of course you can play it in Fractal. I'm not saying that it's really good as a DPS build in a group, but in a solo situation, like I would never pick a Soul Beast. Druid is really good solo as well, but again, I think Druid is not as good solo as Untamed is. Like, there is, like, I would say not a single Ranger build that can actually beat... Yeah, you cannot beat the Untamed, either Condi or solo. That's why I really tried to make a build here with Soul Beast, but it just doesn't really work that well. It's a bit sad, But what can you do? You know, that's just how it is. Exactly, you don't have good stability access. I mean, you have decent one if you have the utility skill with Dolyak stance, you have decent stability, but it's just one skill. Untamed has like more access to stability. I don't know, it's just not perfect. And then you have Gale Shot, which is like, in my opinion, one of the worst like specs to theory craft around, because it's just so rigid, which is fine as a DPS build. It's really good, and I think Gale Shot, I like to play it a lot. It's not as fun to theory craft around, because a lot of the traits and like how it's set up, you play it power. You have no way of playing like a solo build that is not power with wilderness survival. That's pretty much those two trait lines are locked in, because otherwise you don't have any sustain. Soul Beast is more theory crafting, but it's just cannot beat Untamed. Yeah, power creep is there. No, I'm not. Tasha. I know there are really good Druid builds. I even made a full build guide with like Druid on soloing. I'm just saying, if you want the top-notch builds, Untamed is unbeatable on Ranger. It's just like, if anybody says Druid is better in soloing than Untamed is, then you have not seen the best Untamed builds, I would say. Yeah, I guess Soul Beast is easier. That is a fair point. I guess Soul Beast is more straightforward to play than Untamed. Yep. I've been interested in Revenant, but I was wondering how they are in Fractals and Raids. I think in Raids specifically, Revenant is good. Like, Revenant is really good as a DPS. As a wound DPS, it's also decent. As a healer, I would say not really. I think Conduit is probably the best healer that you can go for. If you really want to have a, how can I say, like, really good flexible pick, I think Revenant is not the best option, but it's good in Raids. In Fractals, it's a bit more like tryhard. With Renegade, for example, can be really good with the burst. And Conduit can also be decent. Even Vindicator can be good, but I think it's not like the best Fractal pick. Like, especially for players that don't have crazy experience in Fractals. I would personally say Raids, good pick. Fractals, decent, but not like the best. Yeah. Untamed is definitely not LI friendly. That's not actually true. Snowbleach. There is probably one of the best, if not the best, low intensity build right now. If you consider 0 buttons to be the best, then is Untamed. You can play as 30k DPS, 0 button Untamed, where you essentially press no buttons. Untamed does everything. It just does the 30k. Yeah, it's insane. It's insanely good. Untamed is like really good for low intensity. It's just if you play like to the maximum in solo builds or something like that, you have a lot of buttons and combinations to learn. Because in solo builds, it's a bit more like you don't want to have low intensity, because you have a lot of utility that you can get if you press more buttons. But it is really good. Like, Untamed is, I would say, probably the most flexible Ranger spec, and pretty much by a long shot, I would say. Okay, so let's do a full turn, and let's try some low intensity Gale Shot and see if we can make that one work. But I don't know. I don't know if that's possible. because we did that in the past. I tried it, but I'm not sure. Is that affecting it as well? Is that a weapon skill? Is your gale shot bow a weapon skill? Probably it is. Probably it is. Yeah, let's you know, let's do it. Let's just do it. Just low intensity gale shot. Let's see if we can make that work. We disable this. So the idea was that we just camp the cyclone bow. That's the idea. So let's see if we can make that work. Do we want that replaced? No, we want definitely that restore, and we want to have the pet on autocast. And then whenever the pet CCs or UCC, you get 1 arrow. Is that good? Is that good? It's just like every 20 seconds you get 1 arrow generated. You don't need arrow generation if you actually spam the auto tag. What do we do? That's actually tough. Not really. Condi gale shot? No, I'm not trolling. I'm not trying. I'm trying to make a good build. Yeah. Welcome. Nice to meet you. I asked in the YouTube chat. I saw your video about Solo Herald, but I wanted to ask you if it's still viable. So Solo Herald is still viable. It got like I would say pretty like some significant damage nerfs. I'm working on a new one, so stay tuned for that. I would say it's still viable though. It's not as high DPS it was before, but it's still the same build, the same gear, everything is the same. It's just a slightly less damage output than before. But the defenses and everything is still there, so I hope you enjoy that. Herald is, in my opinion, a really like easy and straightforward solo build. Yeah, this is also not that good. I guess we just take that. Feathered pets have increased strike damage and health. Beast skills grant quickness around the ranger. They are all not good. You know what? Okay, like this is the classic solo, the classic low intensity problem. It does not matter which traits you take because almost all of them are not used. You know what? It doesn't really matter. I guess we have to take this because that's the only one that actually affects the auto attack. Yeah, you just get some more damage there. And this one, if you use a feathered pet, is there any good feathered pet that has a lot of CC or like damage? Because I feel like there are not that many like feathered pets that have some good damage. What is the best damaging pet? Like power damage. Is it like a tiger or something like that? Is the tiger the best pet for damage? Or just auto attack damage? That's so hard. I don't have many people to play with, so I enjoy solo builds. That's fine. That's fine. And glad that I can help out. Don't worry. If you have any other questions, just let me know what you want to know. Yeah. The pig is the most. Really, is the pig the highest damaging attack that you can get? I guess. I mean, the problem is you would auto cast. No, I think it's the Volo. Isn't the Volo the best? Where is my Volo? Is the Volo the best? I think the Volo is the best. Let's use the Volo, and maybe it's the pig. I don't know. We will see. I mean, it doesn't really matter too much because like the gale shot traits, you have like essentially like it's so cursed. Low intensity gale shot. Oh my god, it's so cursed. Okay, let's try. So we just hit 0 button gale shot. Yeah, 11k DPS essentially. What is the? I don't have the correct food. Okay, I guess that's making some difference, but I guess 0 button is also like very low. I guess we could also weave in a second button. You know, let's be realistic here. Like pressing 1 button is probably fine. You know, we don't have to go for like 0 button gale shot. Let's go for, let's say we go for, let's go for a realistic setup and we're pressing the 2 skill. Yeah, we are pressing the 2 skill. Yes, I'm actually playing, I'm trying to make a low intensity Gale Shot build right now. That's the idea. Yeah, exactly. Top 10 in the average meta. I mean, it's a fun build. It has 1200 range, you know, and you just snipe them. I have to be honest. Let's try just a 2-button build, or like 1 button essentially, by just pressing Bluster of cooldown. Do you want the quickness as well? You know, because it doesn't really matter to you, does it? You can take that trade. I guess we just play the DPS option. And I guess we could then swap this trade and go for the Gazelle. And that way we get some arrow generation. Because now we need arrows. We want to just use the 2 skill of cooldown. Yeah, you need, that's the problem. That's the problem, that is like, you need to, you cannot, if you want to press the 2 skill of cooldown, and then you have to press the auto attack as well at some point, because you need to press Hawkeye. So it's actually, it instantly becomes a 2-button build. You know, that's now a higher benchmark. You know, now you need to reach like 30k, at least 32k or something to actually compete there, which is like, I'm not joking, which is like, we are far, so far from it. It's not even funny. But, I mean, I guess we should probably also like go for like an impact sigil here. And are we on the correct weapon? Just unequip this because we don't swap to it either. And I guess we can also, of course, optimize here with Scholar Rune. But I would be very surprised if we reach over like 25k DPS. Like very, very surprised. And then I guess we use... Do we use Eagle Relic? Or do we use Thief Relic? Can we upkeep it? I guess we can upkeep Thief Relic. But I guess Eagle is just a safer option. No thought process required. And then we use, just because we are a bit weak, we use the weak golem. Okay, let's try that again. Welcome, Andrev. Welcome. So let's try that again. Let's just do it. Like 2 skill into 1 skill. That's the only thing. 2 skill of cooldown. 2 skill of cooldown. And then at the 5th press, we also have to press the auto attack. And then Gale Shot sounds, its design is great. I mean, the design is great. It's fun to play. It's just very, like, it's very rigid in what different builds you can play. It's just 1 build, and that's what 2 builds. You play quickness Gale Shot or play full DPS Gale Shot. There's not much to think around. Look at this. We're not even reaching 20k DPS. Maybe 20k if we get a lucky 5th Hawk, the last Hawkeye off to finish the golem here. Nah, we didn't even get 20k. I mean, we did have no problem with the arrow generation. But you still need, like, I guess you could make arguments for using the supersonic arrow of cooldown as well. Then you have like a 3-button build, and you slowly increase the buttons, but you don't increase the damage as much. Yeah. Low intensity Condi Chrono, incredible, very easy, can do boon DPS without boon duration. Sounds good, sounds good. Have to take a look at it. Low intensity necro builds exist? Yes, a lot. I actually have like multiple on my YouTube channel. You can always check out my website to find the build very fast, or just go into low intensity playlist on my YouTube channel. Yeah. I don't know. I guess we press the 5 skill of cooldown as well, but this is, you see, that's the issue that I often have. Like, I make a low intensity build, and then you have some traits that you can choose and stuff, and some that are completely worthless. But in the end, you end up with the builds that are pretty much like there already. Like you just press, like, for example, Unload, Thief, or you use Untamed that uses the auto attack. There are so many builds that are already like people use, and they are just good. Making something crazy new come up with it, I don't know, pretty tough. Okay, let's try it again. This into this, and I guess you could play quickness. It does not really make a big difference. I mean, the burst is not even bad for low intensity build, I have to be honest, but it's That's pretty much it. Yeah, I guess your arrow generation is actually also pretty solid. Now you're at least at 21k DPS. I guess that's better than nothing, but I mean, it's sadly not even close. You know, I have a core DPS thief build that uses only core stats, core thief, and presses 0 buttons and reaches 24.5k DPS. So it's like, okay, which build would I choose? Would I go for Gale Shot or would I go for the other one that actually, I don't know. Sad. I think it's not really realistic. Not really realistic to make a low intensity Gale Shot work. That's why I'm so sad that they nerfed it and it hit the low intensity build every single time, and now it's just pretty much the worst low intensity class out there. Really sad actually, but it was fun theory crafting around it. Yeah. Just because you could doesn't mean you should. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. Yeah, it's a bit sad because I really like the spec and I want to play it more, but it feels like it's in a niche that I just don't play that often. And like I don't play full DPS. I don't play like full glass cannon quickness DPS a lot of times. And Gale Shot is, in my opinion, really fun. I like the class fantasy a lot. It's just a niche that I typically don't fill that often in groups. You know, either I'm the healer or I'm like pucking, and then I typically want to play a quick DPS that provides a bit more than just damage, like some stability maybe or stuff like that. Gale Shot cannot do that, and then you like I cannot really theory craft around it with it either because it's just really like rigid. I don't know, just not perfect, not perfect. Either way, I mean that's how it goes. I think that's also the end of today's stream. It was really fun. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed also my opening session. Don't worry, we will do a video about it. And I guess, yeah, wish you all a very nice weekend. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the support. And hope to see you in the next stream. Take care. Thank you, everybody. See you.